Chapter 857. Chu Yang's guess was right. This man in black was the legendary #1 blood pair expert in the world, Wei Wuyan. Wei Wuyan. It was said that there was no blood pair mission that couldn't be completed by this person, as long as Wei Wuyan accepted the bounty of a blood pair. Then, the person on the bounty would definitely die. Wei Wuyan was famous for being mysterious. It was said that no one knew what Wei Wuyan looked like, and no one knew what level of cultivation Wei Wuyan had. The world's #1 painter, Xu Danqing, had seen Wei Wuyan before. But when he wanted to draw a portrait of Wei Wuyan, he found that he couldn't draw at all. Every expert had their own charm and unique temperament. But Wei Wuyan didn't. Facing Wei Wuyan, Xu Danqing actually fell into a daze. Because no matter what, he couldn't see anything special about Wei Wuyan. After Wei Wuyan left, Xu Danqing locked himself in the studio for 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, he vomited blood and fainted, because not only could he not draw, but he also forgot what Wei Wuyan looked like the moment Wei Wuyan left. And he completely forgot. He had no impression at all. What was the most important thing for a painter? Wasn't it eyesight, memory, insight, and brushwork? These were the most basic things. Now that such a thing had happened, how could Xu Danqing, the painter of his generation, not break down? The only time the Blood Pairs Hall had offered a bounty for a supreme martial artist was completed by Wei Wuyan. Although he was only a first-grade supreme martial artist, Wei Wuyan's strength was daunting. Wei Wuyan was always alone. He had never fallen in love with anyone and never needed anyone's help. No matter how difficult the task was, he wouldn't ask for help. There was once a blood pair expert who was ranked #2 who contacted Wei Wuyan and wanted to cooperate with him, but was rejected by him. What everyone didn't expect was that although Wei Wuyan didn't ask for help in everything, he had a weakness: he was a foodie. However, although this food was delicious, he also had his principles. Firstly, no one knew his true identity. Secondly, as long as he ate a meal, he would repay them adequately. Therefore, although Wei Wuyan was delicious, he ate with a clear conscience. No one could refuse Wei Wuyan's repayment. Moreover, after being eaten by him, they would still have to thank him profusely. Wei Wuyan liked this feeling. But this time, he had miscalculated. He had never thought that Chu Yang would refuse. From his point of view, one of the siblings was sick, while the other's cultivation level was low. To pass through the Black Pine Forest and walk out of the southeast region, especially in this troubled period, this was simply an impossible task. Escorting them there was a good opportunity that ordinary people could not even dream of. Therefore, Wei Wuyan was invited to sit down without hesitation. Who would have thought that after eating, Wei Wuyan, who had never owed anyone anything, actually owed someone a love? Under such circumstances, how could he really go far? Of course, he had to hide on one side. He thought to himself, even if you don't want me to escort you, I will quietly solve the problem for you. So, I don't owe you anything. Then, he heard Chu Yang's words, and immediately regretted it. Rely on yourself for everything, and never owe anyone anything. This is the creed of me, Wei Wuyan. Why did this little mouth say it? In an instant, Wei Wuyan only felt a little disappointed, but also a little sympathetic. After the meal, the two of them set off again. The cold autumn wind blew all the way. Chu Yang pretended not to know that Wei Wuyan was secretly following them. Of course, he was pretending to be confused. But Wei Wuyan had absolute confidence. With my cultivation level and stealth skills, even a high-level supreme martial artist might not be able to detect me if I follow them secretly. Otherwise, how could I complete so many blood pairs missions? But he would never have thought that this person, who was only a 4th or 5th stage martial emperor in his eyes, actually possessed a divine soul power that was unparalleled in the entire heavenly realm. In Chu Yang's visualization, Wei Wuyan, who thought that he was stealthily moving in the dark, was simply as dazzling as walking in front of the carriage openly. After walking for more than 20 miles, they finally met with trouble. 2 black-clothed men caught up from behind like a gust of wind. They overtook the carriage like lightning. Then, one of them seemed to have thought of something and stopped, blocking the road. The other one stopped as well. Just as he was wondering, The one who stopped first laughed strangely and said, "Little kid, what a handsome horse. Isn't it a pity to use it to pull the carriage? Come, come, come. Let me ride it on the road. It'll save some energy." These two men galloped all the way at an extremely fast speed. Originally, they didn't ride horses because they were confident that their speed was faster than fast horses. But now, seeing that they were only a few hundred miles away from their destination, they felt tired. Besides, they were going to risk their lives. How could they not conserve their energy? Since there was only such a short distance left and they met such a carriage here, wouldn't it be a gift from the heavens to them? But these two men were really unlucky. They had persevered for thousands of miles. Why did they have to cause trouble in the last bit of the journey? It would have been fine if he had stopped, but he had sent both his legs into the depths of hell. Because they would never have thought that the people they had provoked were actually the king of hell of the present age, and they had provoked two of them at the same time, one in the open, and one in the dark. Wei Wuyan immediately became spirited. Looking at these two men, they should also be blood pairs experts who responded to the bounty offered by the blood pairs and went to help the Huang clan earn purple crystals. Such a cultivation level wasn't something that this little kid could deal with. As long as the situation is critical, I'll take action at any time to repay the kindness of this meal. From now on, I don't owe anyone anything. Wei Wuyan was actually a little excited in his heart. Little kid, do you think that everyone can do it without owing anyone anything? You're wrong. Only those with strength can do it without asking for anything. Chu Yang's eyes were cold as he looked at these two men. Yes, their cultivation levels are not bad. They've both reached the first stage of monarch level. You want my horse? Chu Yang smiled. He sat on the horse and looked down at the two men. Although he was smiling, his expression was cold. The two men were used to being domineering. When they saw Chu Yang's contemptuous look, they immediately flew into a rage. Get down, little brat, you're still pretending to be mysterious. It's your honor that I want your horse. Chu Yang smiled and suddenly floated down from the horse. Wei Wuyan, who was in the dark, was startled at the same time, because as Chu Yang floated down, sword aura suddenly soared to the sky. A sharp sword intent was emitted from Chu Yang's body in a crisscross manner. The long swords at the waists of the two men automatically popped out of their sheaths with a loud sword cry. There was actually a sense of excitement and exhilaration in the sword cry. The two long swords made of ordinary iron seemed to have been stimulated at this moment when they faced the Sword King. A light flashed in midair, and Chu Yang had already turned into a stream of light. What harm is there in slaughtering everyone in the world? If it were other people, it might be possible to reason with them. Even if they were stronger than the other party, they could still patiently tease them before killing them. But in the face of such people, Chu Yang didn't even have the mood to say a word. He could only kill them. He wasn't interested in talking at all. Wei Wuyan, who was in the dark, almost popped his eyes out. Damn, he's actually a sword sovereign. And his level isn't low. This time, old Wei has really misjudged. Just now, Wei Wuyan was caught off guard. Even his sword almost popped out. Luckily, Wei Wuyan was strong and reacted quickly. He suppressed his sword at the first moment and didn't expose himself. The two men were caught off guard. They immediately touched the sword hilt at their waists, but what they touched was the cold sword edge. Only then did they remember that their long swords had popped out automatically. Just with this slight hesitation, Chu Yang's sword light had already shot over like lightning. The two men felt cold when the sword light touched their bodies. Sword sovereign. The two men exclaimed at the same time. For a moment, they were both regretful. Motherfucker, I've been walking for thousands of miles and taking detours whenever I see something. Now that I've finally arrived here, I've actually offended a sword emperor in the last 200 to 300 miles. Why did you want to save your energy? The first man roared. He couldn't care less about the regret on his face. He retreated quickly and pulled out his sword. But just as he unsheathed his sword, the sword light from the other side had already arrived in front of him. Blocked. With a click, the sword that had just been unsheathed was cut into two pieces like a piece of wood. He exclaimed and retreated desperately. He shouted, "Domain!" A vacuum-sealed space appeared in front of him. In the dense forest, Wei Wuyan sighed deeply. He actually wants to use a domain to block a high-level sword sovereign. I don't know how this martial monarch is doing. He should be at least dozens of kilograms if he's not dozens of years old. He's so ignorant. He could have escaped with his life, but once this domain appeared, both of us are finished. Wei Wuyan was a little depressed. Looks like I'm not needed again. Field. Chu Yang snorted coldly. His long sword continued to move forward. When it touched the sealed space, it burst like a soap bubble. The domain of a martial monarch was actually broken by a sword. That man spat out a mouthful of blood. His divine soul was seriously injured. He desperately dodged to one side. The long sword rushed past him with a sharp whistle. Blood flew like rain. Half of his body was already stained with blood. With just one sword, his left arm had disappeared and turned into minced meat. Even 2 ribs on his left chest were broken. A large piece of flesh was scraped off from the left side of his face. He staggered back and screamed inaudibly. His face had already turned pale. But Chu Yang's face was cold and hard. He didn't stop at all. The sword light flew up again. It was still the same move as before. What harm is there in slaughtering the whole world? Kill him while he's sick. The sword light was like a meteor. This man screamed. He couldn't care less about his serious injuries. He quickly rolled on the ground and desperately released hidden weapons to block Chu Yang. But he was facing a sword sovereign. Since he had lost the initiative and was seriously injured by his opponent, his ending was basically doomed. The sword light flashed. This man screamed in despair. Blood spurted out from his chest. He staggered and retreated. Chu Yang had already turned around like a whirlwind and rushed towards another person. In the dense forest, Wei Wuyan sighed deeply. His eyes were full of doubts. A 4th-grade sword sovereign who's not even 20 years old. How can there be such a genius in this world? Why haven't I heard of him before? To be continued. Chapter 858. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. First update. Another person came to his aid desperately with his sword. Chu Yang had just turned around when this person had already rushed to him. Just as this absolute defense was about to be launched, 2 rays of sword light had already met in the air. The thin swords clashed in the air and actually made a deafening sound, as if a big hammer had smashed on metal. Chu Yang's clothes fluttered behind him. He flew straight for more than 100 feet, his chest heaving up and down. This time, he had really clashed head-on with a monarch-level expert. Although Chu Yang had used his exquisite sword techniques to offset some of the power, his cultivation was still not as strong as the other parties. Latest chapter of the Holy Hall. That person rushed up with a hideous smile. Little one, is this all you've got? Chu Yang's face changed. His body shook and he launched the fleeting snow cloud movement. Launching the fleeting snow cloud movement with the strength of an emperor-level expert, he was really as agile as a swimming dragon. That person attacked repeatedly but couldn't even touch Chu Yang's shadow. He couldn't help but feel more and more terrified. Chu Yang's sword light was faintly discernible. A feeling of extreme danger suddenly shrouded this person's heart. Sword energy suddenly erupted. Chu Yang defended for dozens of moves and finally found an opportunity to turn from defense to offense. But who knew that just as he was about to launch his sword attack, he saw this guy suddenly fly back and rush in another direction. Chu Yang's pupils shrank. Over there, Chu Le-er's head was sticking out of the carriage, and that person was rushing towards her. Wei Wuyan secretly rejoiced. He thought, it's finally my turn to attack. At this moment, Wei Wuyan suddenly felt a chill down his spine. His heart shook and he looked over in horror. He saw that the sword light on Chu Yang's side had already turned into the scorching sun in the sky. Then, it turned into a long rainbow shooting through the sky. In a moment of desperation, Chu Yang directly used all his techniques. In the blink of an eye, the sword went from a single ray of cold light pierces 10,000 feet to you shall be worry-free as long as I'm alive. 10 moves were like a flash flood. Wei Wuyan saw a billowing storm coming towards him. The storm swept over the person who was speeding away. That person was still 70 to 80 feet away from Chu Le-er. He did not even have the chance to scream before he turned into fragments that filled the sky. Net, the torrent surged and rushed toward the forest where Wei Wuyan was hiding. Wei Wuyan sighed gloomily. He lowered his body and sank 100 feet into the ground. The storm of sword energies swept across the woods with a loud rumble, directly plowing out a 50 feet wide and 400 to 500 feet long road. All the trees, not even a single root was left on the ground. They all turned into powder, filling the entire sky densely. Then, they fell from the sky like snow, and it didn't stop for a long time. When Wei Wuyan crawled out from the ground, he found that Chu Yang had already driven the carriage far away. Voices came from afar. "Big brother. You're so amazing." The little lowly's voice was filled with admiration. Of course, hearing these two words, one could imagine a certain someone's arrogant expression. You didn't even ask for their names before killing them. How terrifying. The little lowly said. It's meaningless to ask for a dead person's name. A certain someone was obviously enjoying the adoring gaze of the little lowly. He was a little arrogant. Well, no wonder you didn't let that black-robed man protect us. The little lowly said with a sudden realization. Ha 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 ha, I still have to protect him when I'm free. A certain someone boasted shamelessly. Wei Wuyan only felt that his stomach was bulging. He shook his body and shook off the dust on his body. There was actually a thick pile of dust at his feet. Wei Wuyan leaped up and was about to chase after Chu Yang. Now, he was more and more interested in this Chu Yang. Wei Wuyan had a fortuitous encounter when he was young, and he was also taught by a famous teacher. He was already an emperor-level expert when he was only 20 years old. After that, he fought repeatedly and walked step by step to his current unshakable position in the bloody world. It could be said that his life was smooth sailing, but it could also be said that he had gone through a lot of hardships. But he asked himself honestly, when he was Chu Yang's age, he definitely didn't have Chu Yang's combat power, but at this moment, he frowned as if he had noticed something. A familiar aura appeared not far ahead. Sacred Hall the target this time. Wei Wuyan swept past like a gust of wind. This time, Wei Wuyan came to the Black Pine Forest not for the reward of the battle between the Huang clan and the Xiao clan, but because he had received news that his mission, which had been for half a year, had finally appeared in this area. That was why he came. The person that Wei Wuyan wanted to kill this time was Yin-Yang Bridge, WN Renjie, a martial artist at the peak of the martial saint level and the #1 thief in the southeast region, but he was given a nickname by all the heavenly layer martial artists, WN Renjie. It was said that WN Renjie was dissolute and shameless. His cultivation was high, and he appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Moreover, he specialized in intercepting the goods of law enforcement officers and big clans. As long as it belonged to law enforcement officers and big clans, even if it was a grain of rice, he would intercept it. But he didn't touch the other forces. He was a strange person. Wei Wuyan originally didn't want to kill WN Renjie, but he urgently needed purple crystals this time. WN Renjie's bounty had soared from 8,000 purple crystals all the way to 70,000 purple crystals today. This number made Wei Wuyan's heart palpitate. That was why he accepted it. But after chasing him for half a year and fighting him 3 times, WN Renjie managed to escape. This time, Wei Wuyan made sufficient preparations. He swore not to let WN Renjie escape from his hands again. Now, WN Renjie's unique aura finally appeared. Wei Wuyan was overjoyed. Speaking of which, he had to thank Chu Yang for this. If it wasn't for his strong sword aura that had aroused WN Renjie's curiosity, it was really hard to say when he would be able to stop this guy. Wei Wuyan's body was like a black flowing light, flashing and disappearing. Chu Yang rode on the horse and chatted with Yu Chu and Lei all the way, luring Wei Wuyan to catch up. Suddenly, Chu Yang's whole body shook and his face changed. In his spiritual sense, there were 3 strong auras in front. Each of these 3 auras was almost not inferior to Han Xiaoran. Chu Yang was shocked. Where did these 3 peerless experts come from in such a barren mountain? Among these 3 auras, one was very obvious, but the other 2 were very hidden. Just from the distribution of the auras, Chu Yang could analyze that this was a trap. One of them must have appeared as a bait to lure the enemy to attack, while the other two were lying in ambush at the side, ready to ambush. Chu Yang was puzzled. Is this the main battlefield of the Yi clan and the Xiao clan? But, even if it's the main battlefield of the two clans, it's impossible to send out these three peerless experts at the same time. The current battle situation obviously hasn't reached the stage of sending out such experts. Sensing with his spiritual sense, Wei Wuyan suddenly accelerated and caught up with him like a flash of lightning. In an instant, he overtook the carriage and entered the dense forest ahead. Chu Yang was shocked. Wei Wuyan? The opponent's target is Wei Wuyan? But who is so resourceful to be able to grasp Wei Wuyan's whereabouts? But no matter what, this is really strange. Chu Yang pulled the reins and the horse stopped. Seeing that it was already afternoon, Chu Yang was silent for a while and finally got down from the horse. He said, don't move. I'll go ahead and take a look. Something big must have happened in front. Chu Le nodded obediently. Big brother, go ahead. I'm not afraid. Chu Yang chuckled and stopped the carriage. Then, he silently made a big hole between two big trees at the side of the carriage and let Chu Le hide in it. He used the Thousand Phantom technique to massage Chu Le's blood and let it stay in her body. In this way, as long as Chu Le didn't crawl out, no one would be able to discover her hiding place. Then, he cleverly covered the top and sprinkled a layer of topsoil. This place became a seamless hiding place. Even if someone discovered the carriage, they wouldn't discover Chu Le. The carriage can be lost, but Le can't be lost. Chu Yang thought. Le, stay here and don't move. I'll be back soon, Chu Yang exhorted. Chu Le nodded obediently. There were obviously 4 experts preparing for a decisive battle ahead. If he brought Chu Le along, Chu Yang wasn't confident that he could protect her. But there was a road ahead that they had to pass through. So, Chu Yang could only stop here. With his divine soul, he could feel that this place was outside the attack range. It was absolutely foolproof. Chu Yang rushed out of the dense forest and said in his consciousness space, Sword Spirit, I'm afraid I've caused you to possess my body this time. With my own strength, I'm afraid I'll be discovered by them before I reach the heart circle. The Sword Spirit chuckled. Then, the two of them changed their bodies without anyone noticing. The Sword Spirit controlled the body. The Sword Spirit's spiritual power and Chu Yang's spiritual power fused together, and formed an incomparably powerful spiritual power. The black figure turned into a streamer in an instant. It shot forward. Wei Wuyan walked forward for 7 to 8 miles and suddenly stopped. On the roadside ahead, a man in green was standing with his hands behind his back. He nodded and smiled at Wei Wuyan. He had a graceful bearing. The corners of his face were protruding and his eyes were as sharp as swords. His posture was tall and straight. Just by standing there, he was like an unshakable mountain. It was Wan Renjie. Wei Wuyan suddenly stopped from running at a high speed. His movements were as natural as moving clouds and flowing water. There wasn't the slightest bit of effort. His eyes became dangerous and sharp. Waiting for me? Wan Renjie turned around slowly. Wei Wuyan, long time no see. Wei Wuyan smiled faintly. Wan Renjie, are you here to deliver purple crystals for me? Wan Renjie said indifferently, as long as you can take it, it would be my honor to earn a few purple crystals for Brother Wei with my head. He rolled his eyes and said, I'm afraid that Brother Wei will overreach himself and step onto the yin-yang bridge in my hand. Wei Wuyan chuckled. I've already seen the yin-yang bridge. It's just SOSO. Wan Renjie lowered his hands behind his back. When he raised them up, they were already in front of him. With a soft sound, a strange-shaped weapon appeared in his hands. This was a sword, but it was half as short and twice as wide as an ordinary sword. The sword blade was divided into 2 sides. One side was as white as snow, while the other side was as black as ink. Yin-Yang Bridge was not only Wan Renjie's nickname, but also the name of this sword. Black and white sword, Yin-Yang Bridge. Wei Wuyan's pupils contracted. Looking at this strange sword, he said in a low voice, this must be the famous Yin-Yang Bridge. I haven't seen it in the previous few battles. Today, I finally see it. It's indeed a murderous weapon. Chapter 859. Yes, this is the yin-yang bridge. W.N. Rengier stared at the sword in his hand affectionately and said lightly, when you see the yin-yang bridge, you will cross it with your sword. When you see the yin-yang bridge, you will cross it. Wei Wuyan, you've been through so much wind and snow in your life. You've even been nurtured by your parents. It'll be a pity if you die on my yin-yang bridge. Wei Wuyan, it's not too late for you to give up this mission. W.N. Rengier raised his head and looked at Wei Wuyan. He said seriously, I really don't want to kill you. Wei Wuyan smiled. You don't want to kill me? I'd like to hear your reason. Why don't you want to kill me? W.N. Rengier smiled heavily. In the whole southeast region, there aren't many people who can catch my eye. But you, Wei Wuyan, are a real man. I'm an enemy of law enforcement officers and big clans, but I don't want to be an enemy of you. Wei Wuyan was silent for a moment and said, it's a pity that I've already accepted your mission. Before that, I don't want to be an enemy of you. W.N. Rengier pondered and frowned. You have difficulties. Wei Wuyan smiled lightly. Who doesn't have difficulties in this world? W.N. Rengier said, good, good, good. He said good 3 times in a row. His expression gradually became cold and piercingly cold. The qi in his body was also surging. He said solemnly, it seems that you have to kill me. I don't want to kill you, but if I don't, I won't be able to get those 70,000 purple crystals. Wei Wuyan said. W.N. Rengier smiled. It's a pity that you won't be able to get those 70,000 purple crystals, and you'll also lose your life here. He clapped his hands and said, brothers, come out and meet the number 1 blood pair expert in the southeast region. Wei Wuyan smiled lightly. I saw you here alone, so I knew that you must have a helper. I'm curious about who's so daring to help you even though he knows that I'm the one who wants to deal with you. He smiled disdainfully and said, this kind of precedent can't be set. Net, a voice sounded behind him from afar, can't we set a precedent like this? Wei Wuyan. Wei Wuyan floated up like a willow catkin and moved 30 feet to the right to avoid W.N. Rengier's frontal attack. He then turned sideways and looked behind him. A yellow-robed man suddenly appeared 300 feet away, floating over like a gust of wind. His legs did not move, and his whole body was 3 feet above the ground, as if he was riding the wind. His sleeves fluttered in the wind, making him look indescribably dashing. This yellow-clothed man had a square face and big ears. His face was square and his skin was fair. 3 strands of long beard floated in front of his chest. His eyebrows were thick like swords, but his eyes seemed to be nested in his eye sockets, slender and sharp. In the blink of an eye, he was already 100 feet away. He then stopped and landed on the ground. He smiled faintly. Wei Wuyan, do you recognize me? Wei Wuyan took a breath. Road of life and death, Cheng Jiuying? The eyes of the yellow-robed man flashed with lightning, and he said a little desolately, Brother Wei is really knowledgeable. Yes, I'm Cheng Jiuying. I didn't expect Brother Wei to know that there's someone like me in the pugilistic world. Wei Wuyan only felt bitterness in his mouth, and he said, experts in the pugilistic world are very famous. How can I not know you? Cheng Jiuying said amiably, Brother Wei, you're too arrogant. I'm just trying to make a living. How can I be compared to Brother Wei, who's the number 1 blood pair in the world? Wei Wuyan sighed. The road of life and death in the human world is crossed several times by ghosts. Every time they come and go, they become Jiuying, sending you back. Brother Cheng, you're known as the ferryman of life and death. Why do you want to get involved in this? Cheng Jiuying also sighed. I also don't want to. But it's a pity that you want to kill the yin-yang bridge. If the yin-yang bridge is broken, where's the road of life and death? I have no choice but to do so. I hope Brother Wei can be considerate when you step on the yin-yang bridge and cross the road of life and death. Wei Wuyan's face really changed this time. His voice was heavy, and his heart also became heavy. If the yin-yang bridge is broken, where's the road of life and death? So, the 3 of you know each other? And the other one is also here? Why don't you come out and let me see you? Net, a gloomy voice said, you're indeed the number 1 blood pair expert in the world. You're so knowledgeable. I'm Bao Bu Huan. Greetings, Brother Wei. Wei Wuyan changed his position again. He slowly turned around and looked in the direction where the voice came from. He sighed, I see. Along with the gloomy voice, a figure in black appeared like a ghost. Like a weightless kite, he hung on the treetops 100 feet away and floated. Wei Wuyan, I'm Bao Bu Huan from the Netherworld Crossing. Once I enter the Netherworld Crossing, I promise I won't return. Wei Wuyan's face became obscure. He took a deep breath and felt the internal qi in his chest and abdomen surging. He laughed. When you see the Yin-Yang Bridge, you'll cross it. Send you back to the road of life and death, and advise you not to return. Once I enter the Netherworld Crossing, I promise I won't return. He laughed deeply and said, I really didn't expect the three of you to be one. The one who surprised me the most is you, Cheng Duiying. No wonder Wei Wuyan was surprised. Wn Renjie from the Yin-Yang Bridge was the #1 thief in the southeast region. Bao Bu Huan from the Netherworld Crossing was the #1 killer in the southeast region. Cheng Duiying from the Road of Life and Death was the blood pair with the second highest completion rate in the southeast region, just below Wei Wuyan. Who would have thought that the three of them, who never interfered with each other, actually had a connection with each other? And such a close connection. The three of them laughed at the same time. No wonder you're puzzled. Because those who know about this matter are all dead. Wei Wuyan said heavily, it's indeed a secret. May I know the reason? Wn Renjie said lightly, Brother Wei, since you're about to die, I'll tell you. The three of us were taught by three blood brothers. Brother Wei, have you heard of the Kaitian three heroes? Wei Wuyan was suddenly enlightened. He sighed, I see. No wonder you're here today. The Kaitian three heroes are said to be invincible when the three of you join forces. No wonder you have the confidence to kill me. No wonder you treat the big clans and law enforcement officers as your enemies. The faces of the three of them turned ugly at the same time. Cheng Duiying said, it's good that you know. Wei Wuyan laughed and said, back then, the Kaitian three heroes said that they were invincible when the three of them joined forces. But because of this, they provoked Yi. Ha ha ha. Yi flew and attacked. Within 5 moves, the Kaitian three heroes were defeated. From then on, they swore not to enter the capital for the rest of their lives. Is this true? The eyes of the three of them turned angry at the same time. Wei Wuyan laughed loudly. 100 years ago, the Kaitian three heroes robbed the law enforcement officers in the southwest region and wantonly made trouble. But they happened to meet the senior law enforcement officer, Feng Yuro, who was patrolling the southwest region. The three of them joined forces and fought with Feng Yuro. Within 3 moves, they were also fatally injured. From then on, they retreated and hid, never appearing in the martial world again. The faces of the three of them turned even uglier. Wei Wuyan said, I heard that Feng Yuro is a woman, and, although they were defeated within 3 moves, in fact, Feng Yuro only used 1 move. Each of the three of them suffered 1 move at the same time. That's all. Wei Wuyan laughed and said, the Kaitian three heroes are invincible. Ha ha ha. Actually, the last 2 words of my name should be given to your 3 teachers. Wuyan, ha ha ha. Wuyan, I don't have the face to face all the heroes in the world anymore. Wn Renjie of the Yin-Yang Bridge scolded furiously, Wei Wuyan, you have to pay the price for slandering my teacher. His figure was like lightning, and he flew over like a rainbow. The black and white sword in his hand turned into a white light and a black gas, and flew over. Wei Wuyan laughed loudly. He didn't unsheath his sword, but met the attack with his bare hands. Wn Renjie snorted, old man, I'm not taking advantage of you. Seeing that Wei Wuyan didn't use his sword, he also kept his sword and fought with his fists and legs. As their figures drifted, the two of them met in the air. With a bang, the two of them flew up like a rocket. They punched and kicked each other in the air as they continued to fly up. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already formed a whirlwind in the air. Within a radius of 1,000 feet, all the trees fell in all directions at the same time. The power of the battle between the two of them was actually so terrifying. So terrifying. The sound of the air exploding was like firecrackers during the New Year. Wei Wuyan attacked with a palm, and Wn Renjie countered with a finger. Wei Wuyan's palm turned into a fist halfway. Boom! Wn Renjie's 2 fingers were like a sword, and he poked. Wei Wuyan pointed with his finger, and Wn Renjie countered with his palms. In an instant, there were countless changes. In the end, the two of them actually exchanged their attacking forms. Wei Wuyan pointed at Wn Renjie's palm. Wn Renjie snorted, and his overlapping palms stretched out, launching a sneak attack at lightning speed. Wei Wuyan elbowed him. With a bang, the two of them somersaulted and floated away from each other in the sky. Looking from below, one could only see a whirlwind suddenly turning into 2 people. Then, the two of them suddenly separated. From the size of a normal person, they turned into the size of a soybean. Then, in the blink of an eye, they floated back to the size of a normal person, and turned into a whirlwind again. Below the two of them was a small hill. As they fought, the whirlwind spiraling down from the sky became more and more intense. The trees on the hill suddenly leaned back, and then cracked. Finally, they were uprooted and disappeared without a trace. The sword spirit was hiding behind a big rock, and was watching this fierce battle with rapt attention. He sighed from the bottom of his heart, after such a long time, it's only today that I've seen a real battle between expert. You have to watch it carefully. For someone of your cultivation level, the changes in the artistic conception of a battle between experts of this level is a blessing that you can only come across by chance. Chuyang didn't say anything. He only watched the battle in the sky, and silently simulated, deduced, studied and tried to crack it in his heart. In the midst of the fierce battle, Wei Wuyan suddenly let out a long howl. He shook his arms and flew up. He actually left the battle circle and came to an absolute high altitude. Wn Renjie was so excited that he didn't want to let go. He also flew up and chased after Wei Wuyan. But when he went up, Wei Wuyan had already pulled himself up to a height of more than 1,000 feet 3 times in a row. Underground, it was almost impossible to see clearly with the naked eye. On the ground, Cheng Duiying's face changed. He shouted, "Big brother, draw your sword. Yin-Yang Bridge. Wei Wuyan is going to kill." Chapter 860. Wn Renjie clearly heard his brother's words, but he didn't draw his sword. He only looked up at Wei Wuyan's figure. His body actually stopped in mid-air, and his palms slowly drew a few circles, setting up a defense in front of himself. Martial yin-yang, then, he crossed his palms in front of his chest. There was actually a faint sound of wind and thunder from his palms. Cheng Duiying sighed deeply. He took out his life and death saber and flew up to the top of the mountain, ready to help at any time. The sword spirit said, "Have you seen through it?" Chuyang said, "What have I seen through it?" The sword spirit said, "At this level, it's a battle of wits and courage. Wei Wuyan's strategic grasp is already quite perfect." Chuyang pondered and said, "You mean?" The sword spirit said slowly, "The 3 of them have surrounded Wei Wuyan, so Wei Wuyan can't run away. Once he escapes, he'll immediately be besieged by the 3 of them. No matter how powerful Wei Wuyan is, he's no match for the 3 of them at the same time. So, Wei Wuyan can only fight. Looking for opportunities in the battle is Wei Wuyan's only way out." Chuyang recalled the standing positions of the 4 people before this and said affirmatively, "Exactly." The sword spirit said, "So, after Wei Wuyan knew the identity of the other party, he immediately insulted them. Moreover, he had given a real example. Under such circumstances, someone would definitely make a move out of anger, and this person would be Wei Wuyan's first target. And this person must be the eldest martial brother of the 3. The sword spirit said, "If the eldest martial brother doesn't attack when his sect is insulted, the other 2 can't attack." This is Wei Wuyan's first plan after he recognized his situation. He's using the rules of the martial world. Chuyang said, "Yes." The sword spirit continued, "And no matter whether it's out of respect for the eldest martial brother, or because of his identity as an expert, he can only fight one-on-one in this first wave of attack. The other 2 people won't intervene unless it's a critical moment. This is Wei Wuyan's second plan. He's using the mentality of an expert." Chuyang agreed, since his cultivation has reached such a level, how can he be so shameless as to attack others unless it's a matter of life and death? The sword spirit nodded, therefore, Wei Wuyan's second plan has also succeeded. Next, Wn Renjie came over with a sword, while Wei Wuyan faced him empty-handed. This might seem unintentional, but it was a blow, an insult. I can deal with you with a sword empty-handed. And he had calculated correctly that Wn Renjie was proud and arrogant. In front of his two junior martial brothers, he wouldn't be able to back down. This is the third stratagem. And at this time, even if Wn Renjie knew that the other party was trying to go at him, he could only do so. Chu Yang agreed. So, Wei Wuyan's third plan succeeded, the sword spirit said, and successfully created a chance for him to fight Wn Renjie alone. His fourth stratagem was to lure Wn Renjie into the sky. Because if we were on the ground, no matter where we are, the other two would be able to provide support immediately if there was any danger. Only in the air would we have such a short opportunity. Yes, Chu Yang replied. Only by severely injuring Wn Renjie in this high altitude can Wei Wuyan have a chance to escape or kill Wn Renjie, the sword spirit said. And Wn Renjie fought with Wei Wuyan several times, but he was defeated and escaped. But obviously, he didn't use his full strength. At this moment, Wei Wuyan didn't use his sword, so the danger of death was greatly reduced. So, Wn Renjie also wanted to see the gap between him and Wei Wuyan. So, even at this moment, he didn't use his sword, the sword spirit said. This is Wei Wuyan's third stratagem. Chu Yang said, but the other three obviously aren't fools. Cheng Duiying drew his saber and went up to the peak. Although he didn't attack, he was a powerful restraint to Wei Wuyan, and Wei Wuyan couldn't kill him. The sword spirit agreed. Once Wei Wuyan used his full strength to injure or kill Wn Renjie, he would immediately suffer from Cheng Duiying's desperate counterattack. He looked up at the sky and sighed. If Wei Wuyan's cultivation was a little higher, he wouldn't have to worry about this. But now, he can't. Let's see how he deals with it. Chu Yang asked, Sword Spirit, how's your current strength compared to these four people? The sword spirit was silent, not as good as them. He sighed, I'm still far from them. Chu Yang said, oh. The sword spirit said, if you become a sword emperor in the future, then I'll be able to defeat these four people. But now, it's absolutely impossible. Of course, they can't kill me as well. Chu Yang snorted and said, but they can kill me. Martial Yin Yang, the sword spirit smiled. Chu Yang suddenly shouted, Wei Wuyan is going to attack. The sword spirit was shocked and looked over. In the sky, Wei Wuyan strolled step by step as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. Every time he took a step at a height of 1,000 feet, the entire land within a radius of tens of miles would tremble. Later, his footsteps became faster and faster, and he had already become a blurry shadow in the sky. And the ground had already started to tremble, as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. Plumes of smoke and dust, which were almost rushing straight up, suddenly filled the sky. Brilliant plan, Chu Yang praised from the bottom of his heart. In this way, it was already impossible for Cheng Duiying, who was on the ground, to accurately grasp the position of the two people in the sky. Wei Wuyan's attack will happen in an instant, the sword spirit said heavily. Before he finished his words, a sharp sound of something breaking through the air had already sounded in the sky. Wei Wuyan's body suddenly turned from high up in the sky, and he fell down vertically like a sharp sword. Behind him, a wisp of green smoke curled up. Because of the high speed, the friction between his body and the air had actually caused the air to burn. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived above Wn Renjie. Wei Wuyan put his left hand behind his back, and raised his right palm suddenly. Without caring about anything else, he chopped down his palm almost savagely. This palm carried the power of 1,000 feet high in the sky. It was as if the thunder god had suddenly raised a big hammer that could shake the world. Wn Renjie exhaled. Good. He rotated his palms and pushed them out fiercely. Whoosh tilde tilde tilde. It actually produced a violent sonic boom, followed by a thunderous sound that shook the heavens. It was the heaven-splitting thunderbolt palm of the Kai Tian three heroes. Wei Wuyan's right palm and Wn Renjie's palms collided fiercely. Boom. The small hill on the ground actually left the ground and jumped up. Wn Renjie gave a muffled groan and fell down. Normally, under such a strong impact, Wei Wuyan's body should have been shaken off. But Wei Wuyan didn't take a breath. His body turned into a steel knife, and he fell down forcefully from the impact, like a meteorite that was burning its life in the atmosphere. But his speed was even faster. He raised his left hand that had been behind his back and slapped down fiercely. At the same time, his right palm was behind his back again. Wn Renjie shouted and desperately tried to block with his palms. Another collision. Wei Wuyan still didn't make a sound. His left hand was shaken off, and he put it behind his back again. His right palm struck out again like lightning. Boom, 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 boom. 7 or 8 palms struck down violently in succession. Wn Renjie could only parry, and didn't have the power to fight back. He never expected that Wei Wuyan wouldn't be shaken off by the heaven-splitting thunderbolt palm. Instead, he fell even faster. It was this little mistake that led to his current tragedy. 2 figures, one above and one below, fell down like meteors. Wn Renjie's body hit the ground with a bang, and sank deeply into the ground. Wei Wuyan's violent figure rushed down like a thunderstorm. Only a series of crazy hitting sounds could be heard from the ground. He went deeper, deeper, deeper. Cheng Jueying and Bao Buhuan came to the side of this human-shaped hole at the same time, looking anxious. Now, the two of them didn't dare to go down, let alone attack. Because in such a situation, no matter how they attacked, Wei Wuyan would have to bear it, and Wn Renjie would have to bear it too. The two of them were almost one body. Cheng Jueying shouted. He stomped his feet and grabbed the ground with both hands. The next moment, he slowly lifted it up with a hey sound. The ground that was hundreds of feet deep and more than 400 feet in radius was lifted up by him, like a big pancake. He roared and threw it out fiercely. Then, he kicked it up. The whole ground was overturned by his kick. It rolled out hundreds of feet and landed far away. A figure flashed, and Wei Wuyan came out from the ground. He sneered, flicked his sleeves, and flew up in a cloud of dust. However, just as he leaped up, a ghostly sword light entangled him like a poisonous snake. A gloomy voice said, "Wei Wuyan, have you forgotten that I, Bao Buhuan, am an assassin?" Wei Wuyan was shocked, and he retreated quickly. Now that he had exhausted a lot of his power after the fierce battle, how could he resist the sneak attack of the #1 assassin in the southeast region? He retreated as fast as lightning. That wisp of sword light also chased after him like a maggot in a tarsal bone. After going back and forth, when Wei Wuyan stood still, he realized that he was near the entrance of the cave again. It was only at this moment that he had the time to draw out his sword. After the 3 swords clashed, Bao Buhuan withdrew his sword and retreated. His body swayed, and he disappeared in a cloud of dust. This cloud of dust created by Wei Wuyan was not only beneficial to himself, but also to an assassin like Bao Buhuan. A murderous intent came from behind him. Wei Wuyan found that he was already in the middle of a pincer attack by Cheng Jueying and Bao Buhuan. With a roar, the ground boiled like magma. Wn Renjie, covered with mud, desperately jumped out from the ground. Once he appeared on the ground, he spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood. He raised his head and said fiercely, "Brother Wei, what a vicious golden thunder palm." Wei Wuyan's continuous attacks almost pierced a hole in the ground. But this Wn Renjie actually didn't die under such attacks. He could even jump up by himself. Such a tenacious vitality made Chu Yang have more scruples and standards to measure the cultivation of the so-called second-grade saint level. Wei Wuyan smiled and said, "Same to you. Brother Wan's thunderbolt palm is also not to be trifled with." He stretched out his hands. A gust of wind blew, and the clothes on his arms turned into butterflies. They flew away piece by piece, revealing his clean arms. Wei Wuyan looked at the clothes that flew away with some love, and said softly, "This is the silk of the 7th-level spiritual beast, Heaven Ice Silk. It's midnight. Where are the monthly tickets?" Chapter 861. Bao Buhuan didn't say a word. He swung his sword, changed his position quickly, and swung his sword again. Strange pop-up window. This Bao Buhuan was indeed the #1 killer in the southeast region. He swung his sword to the east and west, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, with a gloomy, ghost-like atmosphere. But the Wuyan sword net that Wei Wuyan had set up was actually broken after a dozen or so sword move. Cheng Duiying only felt that his whole body was relaxed, as if he had just woken up from a sticky nightmare. He roared and leaped up. His life and death saber flashed. Wei Wuyan fought calmly. But the gap between these three people and Wei Wuyan wasn't very big. Wei Wuyan could win against any one of them in a one-on-one fight. But if two of them joined hands, he would be somewhat restricted. Cheng Duiying fought head-on, and was incomparably dauntless. He swung his saber horizontally, and fought with his life. Bao Buhuan floated around like a ghost. Every time he swung his sword, he would stab at the most uncomfortable part of his body. The pressure that he gave Wei Wuyan was even greater than that of Cheng Duiying. On one side, Wn Rujie closed his eyes and adjusted his breath. He was trying to recover his martial power as soon as possible. If Wn Rujie joined the battle again and wielded his yin-yang bridge, Wei Wuyan felt that he would really have to step on the yin-yang bridge. But now, he couldn't get away. First, he had consumed a lot of his martial power in the battle with Wn Rujie. Then, he fought with Cheng Duiying, which consumed even more of his martial power. Now, it was equivalent to his third battle. In this battle, his spirit was tense, and the degree of fatigue was far greater than that of the previous two battles. Even if he escaped now, he would definitely have to pay a heavy price. Once he paid such a price, he would definitely not be able to escape from the number one killer in the southeast region. While Wei Wuyan calmly accepted the battle, he was carefully thinking of countermeasures. He had to be careful. The three people opposite him were all experienced in the martial world. It would be too difficult to slip away under their watch. Chu Yang looked at the battle and said lightly, "I really don't know when this battle will end." Wei Wuyan has already changed 7 sword techniques. The sword spirit said, "If the battle between experts can't end quickly, it will be a long battle of attrition. There's nothing unexpected." Chu Yang said worriedly, "It's best if nothing happens to Le. The sword spirit smiled in a carefree manner. "Don't worry, our spiritual energy can completely cover that area. I've already sent out a strand of energy to keep an eye out for any movements over there. If there's anything out of the ordinary, we can rush over immediately." "That's good." Chu Yang felt relieved. Then, Chu Yang discovered a doubt. That's not right. Wei Wuyan is the number one blood pair in the world, and he has completed the task of killing a supreme martial artist. But from the looks of it, his cultivation is clearly not at the level of a supreme martial artist. The sword spirit immediately rolled his eyes and said, "You're a little silly to say these words. If Wei Wuyan really became a supreme martial artist, wouldn't it be a piece of cake to deal with these three people? The battle should have ended long ago, why drag it out like this?" But how did he complete the task of killing a supreme martial artist? Chu Yang frowned. Killing a supreme martial artist isn't the only way out in the open. They could assassinate him, poison him, or even ambush him when he was seriously injured. In short, there were many ways. Besides, since that supreme martial artist has a bounty on him, there must be many people who want this bounty. And since they want this bounty, they must think that they have the confidence to kill a supreme martial artist. Do you think that everyone is brainless? And when Wei Wuyan met him, who knows how many supreme martial artists he had already fought? The sword spirit said, "What's there to be surprised about when Wei Wuyan took advantage of him?" Chu Yang suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He said, "Yes, you're right." The sword spirit said, "So, although you usually use schemes and tricks, you're still an orthodox martial artist in your bones. You can't think of this not because you're not smart enough, but because you still yearn to be open and above board." The sword spirit smiled. If Mo Yaoji was here, even if someone told him that a martial emperor killed a supreme martial artist, he wouldn't be surprised. That guy is a natural ancestor of schemes and tricks. Like Diwu Qingru, he belongs to the category of evil people. Chu Yang laughed. The sword spirit said, "As for Wei Wuyan's title as the number one blood pair in the world, it's probably because he killed a supreme martial artist. As for whether he's really the number one, and whether there's a real supreme martial artist among the blood pairs, humph, who can say for sure?" Chu Yang deeply agreed. At this time, the battle had already reached its climax. Cheng Duiying was fighting fiercely. His yellow robe fluttered, and his long saber turned into thunderbolts that connected heaven and earth. He slashed down fiercely. Bao Buhuan's figure became even more elusive. His dusty robe was faintly discernible in the dust and fog that filled the sky. He looked even more like a ghost with form but without substance. His sword light was like a venomous snake. Sometimes it would strike, sometimes it would strike again. Wei Wuyan's face was solemn. His Wuyan sword turned into a simple and unadorned light screen, and he fought steadily and surely. Although he was at a disadvantage, his defense was impenetrable. He was like a towering mountain that wouldn't fall. From the looks of it, if there were no other changes, these three would probably continue fighting until next year. However, other changes came very quickly. Wn Rujie, who had been adjusting his breath with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. Two dazzling lights shot out from his eyes. Then he slowly stood up, and the bones all over his body made crackling sounds. Stretching out his arms, he saw that the wounds on his arms were no longer bleeding. His two arms were as smooth as before. His injuries had already recovered. With a soft sound, the yin-yang bridge appeared in his hands. The black and white swords emitted two completely different lights. The black was like the night, and the white was like the day. He took 2 steps forward and watched the battle with his sword in hand, but didn't take any action. Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan were instantly invigorated. Cheng Duiying laughed and said, "Eldest senior brother, you've recovered so quickly." Bao Buhuan laughed, "Eldest senior brother, second senior brother is right." Wn Rujie laughed and said, "It's just an injury. Do I need to recuperate for a long time?" The 3 brothers laughed at the same time. Wei Wuyan, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly felt the pressure multiplied. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He originally thought that Wn Rujie would join the battle, but Wn Rujie didn't take any action. This caused his plan to fail. Wei Wuyan is really in danger this time. The sword spirit sighed and said, "If Wn Rujie takes action, it shouldn't be a problem for Wei Wuyan to break out of the encirclement and escape from Bao Buhuan's side. As long as this number 1 killer is seriously injured, the remaining 2 won't be a problem in terms of tracking." Wei Wuyan has been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. But when the opportunity came, Wn Rujie didn't take any action. This is really a case of God's plan. Chu Yang chuckled. His eyes were fixed on the battlefield with a ruthless look. "I've really benefited a lot from this battle." The sword spirit said, "Do you need me to take action?" Chu Yang looked at him puzzledly. "You? Why do you need to take action?" The sword spirit was speechless. "We don't need to take action, we only need to watch from the sidelines." Chu Yang said, "If Wei Wuyan can't break out of the encirclement of these 3 people, he'll just die. There's nothing else in this world except for a lot of fucking experts. At the very least, if you help him get out of the encirclement, he'll at most owe you a favor." "What else will he do?" The sword spirit stared at him. Chu Yang said, "So, to deal with someone like Wei Wuyan who never owes anyone a favor, I must make him owe me the biggest favor." "That'll be cool." The sword spirit said in shock, "Do you want to take Wei Wuyan as your subordinate? That's really whimsical and unimaginable. If you really think so, I advise you to give up." Chu Yang sighed, "I feel that you really don't understand me. Am I the kind of person who takes advantage of others' difficulties?" The sword spirit lowered his head silently and thought, "Aren't you the kind?" In the midst of the fierce battle, drops of blood began to splash out. Wei Wuyan's body was already injured. Cheng Duiying's body was also bleeding from 2 or 3 places. The sword spirit was shocked. The battle is about to end. Chu Yang was puzzled. Huh? Generally, when experts of this level fight, once they're injured, it means that they can't control their protective spiritual chi freely. So, once such a situation occurs, everyone will end the battle quickly, lest their injuries become more and more serious, and they can't even escape. The sword spirit said solemnly, "This is also experience. This kind of experience is only suitable for 5th stage martial saints and above." Chu Yang nodded seriously, "I'll remember it." In the field, Wei Wuyan suddenly looked up and roared. "So stupid." Chu Yang couldn't help but scold, "Isn't he informing the enemy? I'm going to break through the encirclement. If you want to break through the encirclement, just break through the encirclement, but you actually have to roar. The sword spirit sighed, you haven't reached this level, so you still don't understand. Of course, he's going to break through the encirclement immediately. But, this is something that can't be helped. Can't be helped. Chu Yang was puzzled. A battle at this level is purely using one breath to connect the bridge between heaven and earth, and then using one's innate embryonic breath to support one's breathing. This breath can last for a few days and nights. But once you reach the point where you need to break through the encirclement, you need to go all out. Since you're going all out, you need to spit out all the breath that you've been holding in. Only by changing your breath can you break through the encirclement in the best state. The sword spirit said, if you don't spit out this foul breath, I'm afraid you won't be able to get out at all. Sure enough, when Wei Wuyan's roar shook the mountains, Cheng Juiying and Bao Buhuan also roared at the same time. Their voices were fierce and rushed straight into the sky. The three forces dispersed the clouds in the sky. Wei Wuyan's body was like a dragon soaring in the clear sky. He leaped up, and Cheng Juiying's saber shone brightly as he chased after him. A cloud of dust suddenly rose from the ground, and Bao Buhuan's body flew up, wrapped in the dust. Wei Wuyan roared, and the Wuyan sword suddenly shot out colorful and dreamy sword light. No one had expected that the Wuyan sword, which had been simple for so long, would suddenly shoot out such a colorful and murderous sword light. Wei Wuyan's body was wrapped in the sword light, and like lightning, he flew across the sky. Even the sword spirit was astonished at such a speed. To be continued. Chapter 862. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Wei Wuyan's direction was indeed Bao Buhuan. Bao Buhuan was faintly discernible in a cloud of dust. Wei Wuyan rushed past him. With a whoosh, Bao Buhuan turned into fragments all over the sky. Wei Wuyan knew that something was wrong. What was broken was only Bao Buhuan's grey robe. Bao Buhuan's crossing of the netherworld came straight at him like a viper. Wei Wuyan's Wuyan sword was held horizontally. Behind him, Cheng Juiying's broadsword slashed down. Wei Wuyan roared and rushed forward. His long sword first knocked Bao Buhuan's long sword away, and then suddenly shrank back. The sword hilt protruded from his ribs and met the blade of the life and death saber. With a boom, Cheng Juiying's rainbow-like attack was immediately restrained. He stopped and retreated. Wei Wuyan spat out a mouthful of blood, but he accelerated and rushed towards Bao Buhuan at a speed twice as fast as before. Bao Buhuan was drifting at a slow speed. Seeing that Wei Wuyan was rushing towards him even more fiercely, Bao Buhuan clenched his teeth and suddenly attacked with the crossing of the netherworld. Wei Wuyan's face was cold, and his eyes were ruthless. He was already prepared to kill Bao Buhuan at any cost with this strike. At the very least, he would beat Bao Buhuan until he couldn't move. With this assassin around, his escape would be a bumpy one. When the two swords were about to collide, a black and white light shadow suddenly appeared beside Wei Wuyan. Yin-Yang Bridge. WN Renjie actually launched an attack at this moment. Wei Wuyan roared suddenly. The aura in his body surged, and his black robe suddenly left his body to meet the Yin-Yang Bridge. But his body still met Bao Buhuan's attack without any hesitation. The two swords collided with each other, and there was a chaotic sound. At this moment, Wei Wuyan had launched 180 swords in one breath. Blood flowed like a waterfall in the sky. Bao Buhuan let out a blood-curdling scream and fell unsteadily from the sky. There were wounds all over his body. There were dozens of them. Their flesh and blood were overturned and dripping with blood. At the same time, WN Renjie's Yin-Yang Bridge broke Wei Wuyan's black robe ruthlessly. At the moment when the black robe turned into black butterflies fluttering in the air, the black and white sword aura surged, and Wei Wuyan's body was also covered with wounds. Wei Wuyan forced himself to endure it. With a muffled groan, he swung the Wuyan sword and used it as a broadsword. He then slashed the Yin-Yang Bridge ruthlessly. High up in the sky, both of their bodies trembled violently at the same time. Then, they spurted out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Wei Wuyan's blood sprayed onto WN Renjie's face. WN Renjie didn't waste a mouthful of blood either. He sprayed it onto Wei Wuyan's face. Wei Wuyan roared hoarsely. With a plain sword light, he flew out like a bolt of lightning. With just a flash, he disappeared into the forest in the distance. Wn Renjie and Cheng Duiying chased for 2 steps before stopping simultaneously. Since Bao Buhuan, who was good at lightness martial arts, was already injured, it was no different from a fool's dream to kill Wei Wuyan under such circumstances. However, with such injuries, Wei Wuyan definitely couldn't relax. The two hurriedly landed on the ground to check on Bao Buhuan's injuries. At first glance, both of them frowned. Bao Buhuan's injuries were extremely serious. 40 to 50 sword strikes had almost penetrated his bones. If he wasn't treated in time, he might become disabled. But where could he find a doctor in this desolate mountain? The two of them instantly became very anxious. It's over. Under Chu Yang's urging, the sword spirit retreated stealthily from the scene and rushed back to the carriage like a gust of wind. It's so satisfying. Chu Yang was still sighing until he carried Chu Le onto the carriage. Then, Divine Dr. Chu whipped the horse. Go. His voice was loud and clear, and the sound of the whip was also extremely crisp. It could almost be heard from miles away. He actually started to gallop the horse without stopping. Chu Le felt very strange. Big brother, why are you in such a hurry? What did you do just now? Was it you who caused the heaven and earth to shake just now? Heaven's secrets can't be revealed. Chu Yang said mysteriously, Le behave well later. If you behave well, I'll use my superb skills to make delicious food and fun things for you. Chu Le curled her lips and said, you're definitely going to play some tricks again. Look at how sneaky you are. Chu Yang already knew how to deal with little Lollis. He said proudly, Le I heard that someone came to our house to propose marriage a few days ago. Well, don't look at me, he's asking to marry you. Chu Le face changed instantly. Ah? Big brother? Really? Chu Yang smiled and said, otherwise, why would I bring you along and run so hurriedly? You also know that guy. He's the little young master of the Bao clan, the one with crooked mouth and buck teeth. Chu Le retched and said with trepidation, what happened after that? After that, I ran away with you in the name of treating your illness. Chu Yang smiled and said, my sister is so obedient. Why would I let her marry that crooked mouth and buck teeth guy? Chu Le patted her chest and said, you scared me to death. Big brother, you're so nice. Yes, but if Le doesn't listen to me, I'll send you back. Chu Yang threatened shamelessly. Anyway, the clan also has such intentions. The alliance of the clans of the flat mountain ridge. Chu Le panicked at once. She grabbed Chu Yang's clothes and said pitifully, Le will definitely listen to you. Big brother, don't send me back. Good girl, Chu Yang praised. This guy actually doesn't have any conscience or uneasiness about deceiving, scaring, and threatening his own sister. Instead, he's complacent and thinks that he's resourceful. Even the sword spirit despised him in the tribulation space. The carriage rumbled and sped forward. The horses neighed and the whips cracked loudly in the air. Divine Dr. Chu galloped with 2 horses, with the momentum of thousands of horses and thousands of soldiers. He rushed to the front of nothing with great momentum. Wn Renjie and Cheng Duiying wrapped Bao Buhuan's injuries, but they couldn't do anything about the serious injuries that went deep into his muscles and severed his bones. Moreover, Bao Buhuan's internal organs were also injured by Wei Wuyan's sword aura. In just a short while, Bao Buhuan had vomited several mouthfuls of blood. The two were even more anxious and helpless. At this moment, they heard the neighing of horses and the rumbling of wheels from afar. It seemed that a carriage was coming. The two were overjoyed at once. As long as there was a carriage, they could carefully carry Bao Buhuan onto the carriage and keep the carriage moving slowly and steadily. Perhaps, they could escort Bao Buhuan to the place where they found the divine doctor. The two didn't hesitate anymore. They stood up at the same time, enduring the pain in their bodies, and walked towards the direction of the carriage. The two had already made up their minds. Even if they had to kill Bao Buhuan and rob him, they must snatch this carriage. The steeds galloped closer, closer, closer. Sure enough, it was a luxurious carriage. The two looked at each other and smiled. They both felt relieved. When they found that there was only a teenager in black driving the carriage, and that the person in the carriage was extremely weak and didn't seem to know martial arts at all, they felt even more assured. The two stood in the middle of the road. Cheng Duiying shouted, "Stop!" Actually, before he said anything, the teenager in the carriage had automatically pulled the reins. Then, the teenager jumped off the horse and ran over. The two were surprised. "We haven't gone over yet. Why did this guy run over on his own?" While they were thinking, the teenager in black had already reached them. With a concerned look, he asked, "What happened to the two uncles? Did you encounter a bandit?" Alas, this world is really not peaceful. Following which, his face was filled with enthusiasm. The two uncles seemed to be heavily injured. "Why don't you get into the carriage and rest first? I know a little about medicine, so I can treat your injuries first." Aya. The two uncles' injuries are really not light, these hateful bandit. Wn Renjie and Cheng Duiying looked at each other. Damn, there's actually such a naive and kind-hearted person in this world. Before they could say anything, they heard the young man say sincerely, "Uncles, you don't have to doubt me. I'm just being sincere. Moreover, to be honest, I'm also skilled in martial arts. If I really had bad intentions, I wouldn't have to waste too much effort to deal with the two of you now that you're injured like this." The more the youth spoke, the more arrogant he became. His expression was somewhat contented as he said, "The two of you should believe me now that I've said this. Haha, my medical skills are also known as a divine doctor." Wn Renjie and Cheng Duiying looked at each other. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You look so young. Although your cultivation is also very solid, you're only a first or second stage martial emperor. Of course, you're considered an expert in the eyes of ordinary people. But in our eyes, you're nothing. And you actually said that I really won't have to waste much effort to deal with the two of you." These words really make us, the two uncles, a little scared. The teenager in black waited for a while. Seeing that the two of them still didn't speak, he couldn't help but feel a little resentful. He said, "Since the two of you don't believe me, I'll take my leave." As he said, he took out 2 packets of golden saw medicine and said, "But since I've met you, I can't just ignore you. Here are 2 packets of golden saw medicine. The two of you can bandage yourselves. Ha ha." As he said, he put the 2 packets of medicine on the ground and smiled a little mockingly. In his smile, there was a meaning of the two of you have no guts and no knowledge. He turned around and was about to get on his horse. Wn Renjie said sternly, "Wait." The teenager in black turned his head and crossed his arms in front of his chest. He said a little contemptuously, "It's okay if the two of you don't appreciate my kindness. But do the two of you still want me to stay?" Cheng Duiying narrowed his eyes and said, "Do you really know medical skills? In this wilderness, even if they didn't fully believe him, they would rather treat him as a last resort. Otherwise, with Bao Buhuan's injuries, he really wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Furthermore, what kind of tricks could this ignorant brat play in front of 2 saint-level experts like them? Not to mention the two of them, even Bao Buhuan, who was seriously injured, could also kill him thousands of times." The teenager in black said proudly, "In my hometown, I'm considered to have some medical skills. The two of you will know whether I'm a doctor or not after you try." Wn Renjie laughed and said, "It's not that we don't believe you, but now, there are very few people who have such kindness." The teenager in black said seriously, "Uncle, you're wrong. You must know that a doctor has the heart of a parent." In the space of tribulation, the sword spirit suddenly choked. According to his experience, he knew that as long as Divine Dr. Chu said a doctor has the heart of a parent, someone would definitely be in trouble. Chapter 863. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Wn Renjie sighed and said, "A doctor has the heart of a parent. There are really too few doctors like this now." Chu Yang nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, so on the day I finished my apprenticeship, my teacher taught me that a doctor has the heart of a parent. As a doctor, I have to keep this in my heart at all times. No matter when, I have to treat the wounded and the dying as my responsibility. I have to travel the world and practice medicine all over the world. I have to relieve the suffering of the people and save the lives of the people." My teacher, Wn Renjie, hurriedly interrupted him and said, "Little brother, Aren't you afraid that the two of us are bad guys? Chu Yang said seriously, Uncle, you're wrong. In the eyes of a doctor, there's no distinction between good and bad guys, only doctors and patient. There's only pain. If doctors like us have to pay attention to these, then how can we relieve the suffering of the people and save the lives of the people? Even if we're bad guys, we're still born and raised by our parents. That's also a life. Since it's a life, how can we bear to abandon it? You have to know that humans are born by their mothers. Pigs are born by their mothers. Even if we're bad guys, we're also born by our mothers. WN Renjie coughed repeatedly, wanting to interrupt him, but Chu Yang still finished his words fluently. Translated by Chiomira, edited by Ailrianth, WN Renjie smiled bitterly and said, then, little brother, can you tell what kind of injury I'm suffering from? Chu Yang looked at him attentively. Then, his face suddenly became serious. He took 2 steps forward and reached out to feel his pulse. WN Renjie didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This little guy really doesn't have any precaution at all. She actually recklessly came to check my wrist pulse. But he had nothing to fear, nor was he afraid. Besides, he wanted to test his ability. How could he avoid it? Chu Yang stretched out his finger and put it on his pulse. He turned his head and frowned, saying, Uncle, your injury isn't light. Your internal organs were first injured by a kind of tyrannical force, and then by sword energy. Currently, your chest and abdomen are only temporarily suppressed. In fact, 2 of your ribs are broken. The blood clot in your internal organs hasn't been completely removed, and a piece of your shoulder bone is also broken. He bitterly laughed and retracted his finger. You can move now because you used your own cultivation to lock in your injuries. But to be able to use your own cultivation to heal your broken bones, and to be able to move freely, this level of cultivation is something that I am far from being able to do. So Uncle is actually an expert. To think that I was still boasting about myself, I really am ashamed. He shook his head and sighed with self-mockery. Uncle just asked me why I didn't have bad intentions. If I did, WN Rengis, Net 7 by 24 hours uninterrupted update of pure text handwritten novel. What Chu Yang said just now, including the injuries in his body, couldn't be seen by ordinary doctors after he used his own cultivation to lock them up. But Chu Yang could see it, and he even said it out clearly. This young man had always said that he knew medicine. Now, it seemed that he knew more than that. He was simply a divine doctor. Third brother could be saved. Chu Yang seemed to feel that the shock he had caused wasn't enough. He turned his gaze to Cheng Duing again, saying, this uncle's injuries are lighter. But his internal organs are also seriously injured. Alas, your injuries are easy to treat. Actually, with your cultivation, as long as you can control your injuries and prevent your broken bones from being broken, you can recover by yourself. He squatted down and picked up the 2 packets of Jinchuang ointment. He smiled embarrassedly and said, both of you are fine. Well, especially this uncle, he just needs to circulate his martial energy and spit out the blood clot in his body. Then, he will be fine. I'm ashamed to be in front of an expert, so I'll take my leave now. As he said, he got on the horse and cupped his hands. With a shy expression, he smiled shyly and was about to wave his whip. Wait. WN Renjie's face had already changed. He put on a smile and said, little brother. Ha ha ha, wait, to tell you the truth, we still have a brother who is seriously injured. Well, he's over there. Little brother's medical skills are superb. How about you go and help him? Speaking till here, he hurriedly added, of course, we'll definitely repay you in the future. As he said, he took out a purple crystal jade core from his bosom and stuffed it into Chu Yang's hands. Translated by Chiomira, edited by Ailrianth, Chu Yang was displeased, saying, Uncle, what are you saying? Where's the injured person? Quickly take me there. He pushed away the purple crystal jade core and frowned, saying, how can a person's life be measured by these? Hurry up, it's more important to save him. Is it serious? Cheng Duing looked ashamed and hurriedly led Chu Yang over. Chu Lara stuck her head out of the carriage and pouted, saying, Big brother. Don't go, I'm scared. Chu Yang hurriedly turned back and said to Wn Renjie, "Uncle, please help me to accompany my sister. She's timid." He said to Chu Le, "Good girl, I'll go over there and take a look. There's an injured uncle. He's in a lot of pain." Chu Le said obediently, "Then come back quickly, don't let him be in pain." Wn Renjie hurriedly agreed to Chu Yang's request and put on an amiable smile, saying, "Little girl, you're really cute, ha ha ha. What's your name?" With his cultivation, he could naturally tell at a glance that this little girl was really an ordinary person without any cultivation. She was really powerless. Chu Le trembled and looked at him timidly, saying, "You, who are you? Ah, why is there so much blood on your body?" Her eyes immediately revealed a look of fear. Poor Wn Renjie, when had he ever coaxed a child in his life? Now that Chu Yang casually said that he had a request but couldn't reject it, he stood there awkwardly. He actually nervously rubbed and wiped the wounds on his body and tried hard to put on a smiling face. "It's nothing, ha ha ha, I just fell down." Chu Le pouted. So scary, she was about to cry. Wn Renjie was at a loss. He hurriedly took out the purple crystal jade core that Chu Yang had just rejected. "Good girl, don't cry. Look at this, is it pretty?" Chu Le's eyes lit up at once. With tears still in her eyes, she said, "It's so pretty." Wn Renjie heaved a sigh of relief. "Don't cry, I'll give it to you, okay?" Chu Le tilted her head. "Really?" Wn Renjie smiled amiably and said, "Of course it's true." Chu Le smiled through her tears. She was about to reach out her hand when she pouted again. "But my big brother doesn't allow me to casually take other people's things." Although she said that, her sparkling eyes were full of love and desire as she looked at the purple crystal jade core. What a pair of naive little kids. Wn Renjie sighed and said, "It's okay, I'll tell your big brother. If he doesn't let you take it, I'll beat him up." "Okay." Chu Le's eyes lit up. "Then I'll beat his butt." Wn Renjie nodded repeatedly. "Then I'll beat his butt." He thought to himself, this little girl is so innocent and so cute. At this moment, Chu Yang's grumbling voice could be heard. "The two of you are really. He's already so seriously injured, but you still have the mood to argue with me over there. Hey, come and help." Then, Cheng Duiying's flustered voice could be heard. I'm coming. Little brother, is this brother of mine all right?" Chu Yang's voice could be heard. He's fine. Luckily, I came in time. If I came an hour later, even a deity wouldn't be able to cure his disability. You guys are really." Then, there was another round of grumbling. Wn Renjie was finally relieved. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chu Le had already taken the purple crystal jade core and was playing with it in her hands. Suddenly, she put it down and asked worriedly, "Uncle, are your injuries painful?" Hearing this soft voice, Wn Renjie only felt warmth in his heart. He smiled comfortingly and said, it's not painful at all." Chu Le frowned and said worriedly, "But there's so much blood, how can it not be painful?" "Uncle, come up. Let me wash your wounds. I've learned a lot from my big brother." Chu Le said proudly. Wn Renjie couldn't help but want to laugh. At this moment, he was really laughing from the bottom of his heart. First, he passed by an upright and simple young doctor, and then he saw an innocent little girl. This actually made his heart, which had become cold after roaming the martial world for so many years, soften a little. As this thought arose in his heart, he couldn't help but look at Chu Le with a gentle gaze. Chu Le didn't care whether he was willing or not. She pulled his hand and pulled him into the carriage. Wn Renjie was afraid that he would hurt this delicate little girl if he used too much strength, so he could only let her pull him in. Then, Chu Le really got busy. She used the water bag to clean his wounds gently. As she cleaned, she looked at him carefully with her big eyes that could speak. She asked with concern, "Is it painful? Is it painful?" As she said, she moved closer and blew on his wounds. Wn Renjie only felt that his whole body was bathed in the spring breeze when that little hand touched his wounds gently. For a moment, he actually felt comforted. How could he still feel any pain? Suddenly, a feeling arose in his heart. If I could have such a granddaughter. Sigh, I'm covered in blood. How could I have such good fortune? Thinking of his late wife who died tragically in the hands of the enemy, and his son who unfortunately died under the sword, W.N. Renjier's eyes became a little hazy. He sighed deeply. If his son was still alive, his granddaughter, no, it should be his great-great-granddaughter, would also be this old. W.N. Renjier had been alone for so many years. When had he ever enjoyed such familial happiness? Now, there was such an obedient, cute, clean, and gentle little girl in front of him, asking about his well-being with undisguised concern. W.N. Renjier actually felt a kind of satisfaction in his heart. It was a kind of satisfaction that only belonged to the elderly. Hearing his sigh, Chu Le asked with concern, "Uncle, are you in a lot of pain?" It's not painful at all." W.N. Renjier's heart was a little sour. He smiled gently and looked at Chu Le kindly, saying, "Even if it's painful, it won't hurt anymore after you blow on it like this." Chapter 864. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Chu Le's eyes instantly turned into crescents. She smiled happily and said, "Really? Then I'll blow more for you." As she spoke, she really blew a few more breaths. Now, W.N. Renjier really felt that this breath of air was really like the breath of a fairy. It made him feel indescribably comfortable, both mentally and physically. The hostility that had accumulated in him for a long time seemed to have been blown away by this breath. He couldn't help but sigh comfortably. His heart became even more tender. He said gently, "Little girl, what's your name?" Chu Le smiled with her eyes squinted. "My name is Le. Mother said that I have to be happy and let everyone who sees me be happy too." W.N. Renjier felt the same way. He sighed and said, "This name is really good. I'm happy the moment I see Le." His heart became more and more gentle and peaceful. For a moment, he was actually immersed in such emotions and didn't want to leave. Recalling the past events of these years, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What exactly was the purpose of fighting for so many years in the martial world? If he could have such a well-behaved child to accompany him, wouldn't it be the greatest thing in the world to live in seclusion in the countryside and enjoy his family life? If I could do that, what more would I want in this life? Chu Le was even happier. She said, "Yes, everyone is happy when they see me." As she spoke, her eyes turned into two cute crescents again. W.N. Renjier looked at her greedily and said gently, "Le is a little girl that everyone loves. Of course they'll be happy when they see Le." Chu Le agreed and nodded heavily. Her small head bobbed up and down. W.N. Renjier felt warm and tender in his heart. He couldn't help but squint his eyes and smile comfortably too. For such an old man who had been alone all his life and had experienced the vicissitudes of life to suddenly meet a little girl like Chu Le, it was simply like a fire in his old house that couldn't be cured. Chu Le took out the purple crystal jade core and played with it in her hands. She liked it so much that she couldn't put it down. Sometimes she put it on her chest, sometimes she put it on her face, and sometimes she stuffed it into her hair. She kept asking W.N. Renjier, "Does it look good? Does it look good?" W.N. Renjier only said repeatedly, "Yes, yes, yes." Chu Le was even happier. Martial yin-yang. Without waiting for Chu Le to say anything, W.N. Renjier took out another piece from his pocket. "I still have another piece here." "Really?" Chu Le snatched it over and placed it in her palm, comparing it with the other. "It's really beautiful. With W.N. Renjier's cultivation, it would be unimaginable if someone could snatch something from him. Not to mention a little girl like Chu Le who had no cultivation at all." But when Chu Le snatched the purple crystal jade core away from him, W.N. Renjier actually had a look of comfort and satisfaction on his face. He was even happier than when he had defeated a powerful enemy and plundered everything from the enemy's hand. "Come, Le is so beautiful. How can you not have any accessories?" W.N. Renjier said enthusiastically, "How about I carve a piece of jewelry for you with this?" "What jewelry?" Chu Le blinked her big eyes. "You know how to make jewelry?" W.N. Renjier smiled proudly and said, "Humph, when Uncle was young, he used to specialize in this. No one can compare with this skill." Chu Le looked at him in admiration. "You're amazing." W.N. Renjier was amused. Look. He took out the yin-yang bridge from his chest. He actually started to make jewelry for a little girl with this world-famous murderous weapon that could separate yin and yang. Chu Le leaned over and looked at him attentively. She couldn't stop cheering. Good, 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 good. Isn't this me? WN Renjie looked very complacent. When Chu Yang and Cheng Duiying carried the seriously injured Bao Buhuan over, they saw such a scene. Chu Le grabbed WN Renjie's clothes with her two small hands. Wow, make another one, make another one. WN Renjie was flustered. With a doting look on his face, he said, okay, okay, okay. I'll make another one. Oh, my little ancestor, don't touch the knife. Chu Yang and Cheng Duiying were stunned. They couldn't help but look at each other. Net. What the heck? What's going on? Even Bao Buhuan, who was wrapped up like a rice dumpling, couldn't help but widen his eyes. Is this still my eldest senior brother? This kind, gentle, doting and smiling person is my so-called number one bandit in the southeast region, the ruthless and merciless person who specially sends people across the yin-yang bridge. WAN Renjie? Ouch. I hiss. Bao Buhuan's movement tore his wound. Caught off guard, he couldn't help but cry out in pain. But he still stared at WN Renjie with his eyes wide open, as if he had seen his eldest senior brother turn into a beautiful woman. WN Renjie smiled and raised the knife above his head, as if he was surrendering. Okay, okay, I'll make another one. As he said, he turned around and asked, is third brother okay now? Cheng Duiying said admiringly, little brother is really a miracle worker. After his treatment, third brother is fine now. He only needs to recuperate for a while to recover. Little brother is really amazing. He saw with his own eyes how Chu Yang performed the technique, how Bao Buhuan's wound healed at a speed that was visible to the naked eye, and how Bao Buhuan slowly regained his vitality from a dying state. The shock in his heart was really unparalleled. WN Renjie comforted him and said, that's good, that's good. Then he stretched out his hand. Which one of you still has a purple crystal jade core with you? Cheng Duiying was stunned. Eldest senior brother wants a purple crystal jade core? WN Renjie was displeased. What are you saying? If I don't want one, why should I stretch out my hand to you? Cheng Duiying said, I still have one. I don't know if third junior brother has one. WN Renjie said, since you have one, why don't you take it out quickly? I'm making jewelry for Le. Upon hearing this, Cheng Duiying almost fell off the carriage. He stammered, what? Eldest senior brother, you're making jewelry? Bao Buhuan straightened his body at once, and his two eyeballs almost popped out. Eldest senior brother. You. Didn't you swear? WN Renjie frowned, stop talking nonsense. Take it out quickly. Cheng Duiying took out the purple crystal jade core from his bosom in a daze. He didn't even know what he had done. WN Renjie snatched it over and said, third brother, do you have one? If you do, I'll make a few more. Only then did Bao Buhuan realize that he had straightened his body. Then, he fell down and gasped, I hiss. I have one at home, then you might as well not say it. WN Renjie was slightly angry. Then, he turned his head and asked Chu Le kindly, Le, what do you want me to carve? Chu Le rested her chin on her hands and finally decided, I want a puppy. Okay, a puppy it is. Wait a moment, it'll be done soon. Haha, uncle is awesome, right? Uncle is awesome. Much more awesome than my big brother. A puppy with a cuter expression. Oh, ha. Your big brother is still a lot weaker than me. Cuter. How can I show off my cuteness? WN Renjie smiled happily and agreed. Then, he took out the yin-yang bridge that he treasured as much as his life and started to carve the purple crystal jade core that he had just gotten. He's crazy. Cheng Duiying said in a daze. The three of them, including Chu Yang, were also dumbfounded. Looking at Chu Le's hands, there were already two pieces. One of them was a sculpture made of the purple crystal jade core, which looked exactly like Chu Le herself. It had a pointed head and could be used as a hairpin. It could be seen that WN Renjie had put in a lot of effort in carving this purple crystal jade core. All the essence of the purple crystal was left inside, and the little girl carved was very lifelike. Moreover, the fine lines that formed the hair on the forehead just happened to hang down diagonally. It was an excellent decoration. When in use, it would be an excellent piece of jewelry when inserted into the hair. When not in use, it would also be a rare and precious sculpture if played with in the hands, and the other one was a lifelike little pig, charmingly naive. Now, another puppy made of the purple crystal jade core was about to take shape. One must know that carving this kind of extremely hard purple crystal jade core would consume a lot of cultivation. Not to mention that the yin-yang bridge, which was absolutely not suitable for carving, was even more difficult. Chu Yang scratched his head. What's going on? At the same time, Cheng Jueying also raised the same question. What's going on? Chu Le looked excitedly at the purple crystal jade core rolling around in Wn Renjie's hands, and said happily, what's going on? Look, uncle is so awesome. Wow, the puppy's head is about to become so cute. So awesome. Wn Renjie became more and more satisfied, and said complacently, awesome? The awesome part is yet to come. Chu Le danced with joy, so awesome. Chu Yang's face twitched a little, and he felt that even his internal organs were cramping. He thought, how is Wn Renjie the awesome part? It's clearly you, young mistress Chu Le. You actually turned a saint-level king of hell into such an amiable uncle. Do you know that this uncle is several times older than our grandpa? Chu Yang turned his head in a daze, and almost twisted his neck. He forced a smile and said to Cheng Jueying, cough, this senior brother of yours seems to be really caring, and likes children very much. Upon hearing this, Cheng Jueying simply rolled his eyes, and his whole body twitched as he said, very compassionate. Likes children very much. This is really seeing a ghost. Bao Buhuan opened his mouth and looked at Wn Renjie in a daze. He muttered. Seeing the yin-yang bridge, one sword strike the yin-yang bridge. Seeing the yin-yang bridge, you use it to carve? The legendary number 1 bandit Wn Renjie. The legendary king of hell Wn Renjie who was in charge of the yin-yang bridge. The legendary ruthless Wn Renjie who killed thousands of people. The Wn Renjie who dominated the southeast. Cheng Jueying stared straight and said, I must be dreaming. Bao Buhuan groaned and said, I'm going to faint. Then, he really fainted. 5th update. Begging for votes. Chapter 865. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When they were on the road again, Bao Buhuan was lying in the carriage. 2 empty horses were dragging the carriage at a speed comparable to that of a cow. Webb, Wn Renjie, Cheng Jueying, Chu Yang and Chu Le were walking. Everyone's expressions had become much more relaxed. They were laughing and chatting along the way, as if they were a family. Chu Yang also treated Wn Renjie's injuries. He secretly mixed some vitality spring water into Wn Renjie's body. Wn Renjie immediately felt much more relaxed and praised Chu Yang for his treatment. Chu Le's legs were short and her body was weak. After walking for a few steps, she felt a little tired. Chu Yang carried her on his back. Wn Renjie was envious and strongly requested to be carried on his back. Chu Yang was happy and relaxed, so he moved Chu Le to another place. Wn Renjie carried Chu Le on his shoulder and was grinning from ear to ear all the way. Chula was very happy. She let out a string of bell-like laughter along the way. She had a purple hairpin on her head, a cute purple crystal piglet in her left hand and a cute purple crystal puppy in her right hand. All of them loved her very much. WN Rengier had a great sense of accomplishment. Along the way, he actually told Chula a lot of stories. He was knowledgeable and experienced a lot. As long as it was interesting, he would make up some stories and tell them in a tone that children liked to listen to. Chula listened with great interest. Since they were not in a hurry, it was okay to walk slowly. Chu Yang was also not in a hurry. Where could he find Wei Wuyan if he walked in a hurry? So, after walking for a few miles, the sky turned dark. After finding a place to set up camp near a mountain and a river, everyone came to a stop. After setting up the tent, Cheng Juing went out personally to hunt some game. The others talked outside and laughed from time to time. Bao Buhuan, who was in the carriage, heard the commotion outside. He supported his body and walked out to join in the discussion. This made WN Rengier even more grateful. According to Marshal Yin Yang's injuries, it would be good if Bao Buhuan could get up in the middle of the night. Now, after being treated by Chu Yang, Bao Buhuan could move so quickly. While they were talking, Cheng Juing rushed out of the forest. He was carrying 3 wild hares in one hand and 5 pheasants in the other. He actually returned from a rewarding journey. Everyone laughed and then started to get busy. "Brothers, where are you going?" Chu Yang asked with a smile as he fiddled with the fire. Now, under WN Rengier's insistence, Chu Yang didn't call him uncle anymore. This time, the battle between the Yi and Xiao clans, the big clans. WN Rengier sighed and said, "This time, the battle between the big and the Yi and Xiao clan, the battle between the Yi clan and An Xiao clan is to the people. To the Yi and An Xiao clan and Xiao. That Yi clan and Xiao translation in and translation is. As translation of tutu to translation to translation." Chu Yang said, "Brother, do you have such a deep hatred for the big clans? You should know that big clans are not people to be trifled with. The 3 of you are still a little weak." WN Rengier smiled bitterly. "The big clans are rich and powerful. They have many experts. The 3 of us have trained hard for our whole lives, but we're only saint level. Compared to the big clans, we're not even worth mentioning. But in life, there are always some things that we have to do even though we know that it's impossible." Chu Yang was really puzzled. "I'd like to hear the details." WAN Rengier sighed. On the other side, Cheng Juing, who was roasting the pheasants, and Bao Buhuan, who was lying on the ground, also sighed deeply. The firelight shone on the night. The faces of the 3 of them were all gloomy. "The 3 of us are beggars," WN Rengier laughed. "We're indebted to our teachers for taking us in as disciples and teaching us wholeheartedly. Our teachers' kindness is as deep as the sea. If we don't repay them, how can we be human? Although the 3 of you are a little straightforward and tough, you're also a little self-opinionated and arrogant. These are the shortcomings of your character. As your younger brother, I don't deny it. But the 3 of you have only been blood pairs all your life. You've earned a bowl of rice with your own strength, and you've never let anyone down. There was once a year when the 3 of you were drinking in the capital. When you were drunk, you said a few arrogant words. Unexpectedly, you angered the Night Emperor. With just 5 moves, the 3 of you vomited blood and retreated in defeat. You were even forced to swear that you'd never step into the capital again in your lifetime. After being humiliated like this, the 3 of you didn't say anything when you came back. You were afraid that we were young and impetuous, and would cause some trouble and lose our lives. That year, the 3 of us were practicing martial arts. Suddenly, the 3 of us came back with serious injuries. It turned out that they had provoked Feng Yuro when they were out on a mission. Feng Yuro didn't kill them, but seriously injured them. After Feng Yuro made her move, somehow, the 3 of us were besieged by experts from the big clans on their way back. When we came back to the southeast, they were already on the verge of death. After they came back home, they instructed us to move away immediately. 3 days later, the 3 of us passed away. From the beginning to the end, they didn't say who hurt them. Only when my master saw his two younger brothers die in front of him, he was on the verge of death. His mind was also a little muddled. Before he died, he said one sentence. Wan Renjie said deeply. What sentence? Chu Yang asked. Before my master died, he suddenly shouted, if there's a next life, I'll definitely exterminate the big clans and law enforcement officers. Wan Renjie seemed to have returned to the moment when his master died. He raised his head, gritted his teeth and said this sentence in a hoarse voice. After he said this, Cheng Juiying and Bao Buhuan both trembled all over. A complicated look appeared on their faces, and tears even flowed down from their eyes. When Wan Renjie said this sentence, his tone and demeanor were exactly the same as what his master said before he died. There was silence in the forest. From then on, the three of us concealed our identities and practiced hard. A few years later, we dared to sneak out and inquire about this matter. Only then did we gradually know the inside story of this matter. Wan Renjie gritted his teeth. Two ridges appeared on his cheeks. He said fiercely, if we don't take revenge for this, we're not worthy of being human. If we don't take revenge for this, how can we face our three masters in the future? So when the three of us knew the whole story, we swore to the heavens that in this life, no matter what, we'll never coexist with the big clans and law enforcement officers. Chu Yang finally understood. So this was the reason why these three people kept making trouble for the big clans. Especially the number one bandit, Wan Renjie, who was notorious all over the world because of this matter. Wan Renjie said it vaguely. Chu Yang knew that there must be some other inside story, but he didn't want to ask further. This time, we originally wanted to assassinate one or two important people secretly and further cause conflicts between them. But Wei Wuyan, this bastard, intervened and ruined our plan. Wan Renjie laughed. His expression was a little bleak. With our current situation, if we meet people from the big clans, we can only run for our lives. Who else can we assassinate? We can only give up on this plan. But, it's such a pity for this heaven-sent opportunity. Chu Yang pondered for a while and said, Elder brother Wan, in your opinion, how long can this battle last? Wan Renjie said, it won't end even if we have another month. But now, it's just a confrontation. Occasionally, we'll assassinate and fight in the dark. The big battle on the surface shouldn't happen for the time being. He sighed, but even if this battle lasts for 2 months, our injuries will only be healed after at least 1 month. As for the third brother, he'll need at least 2.5 months. And this is only because he met little brother, this divine doctor. If it's under normal circumstances, even if he's not disabled, he'll need at least half a year. And our assassination plan is based on the third brother. So, this time, no matter what, we won't be able to make it in time. Chu Yang pondered and said, perhaps, I have a way to heal your injuries in the shortest time possible. It's just that the process will be very painful and dangerous. What's the way? Wan Renjie and Cheng Juiying both became spirited. Their eyes lit up, and they grabbed Chu Yang's shoulders. Even Bao Buhuan, who was lying on the ground weakly, raised his head and looked at Chu Yang eagerly. It's to take a kind of medicine. After taking this medicine, one's cultivation can be increased by 500 years. We can use this method to completely use our cultivation to open up our meridians and use the essence of the universe to heal our injuries. Once the injuries are healed, not only will our cultivation recover completely, but we'll also be able to go one step further and enter the ranks of supreme martial artists. Chu Yang pondered and said with uncertainty, but, this medicine is extremely dangerous. Those who take it have a 50% chance of survival. Wan Renjie, Cheng Juiying and Bao Buhuan exclaimed at the same time, purple cloud pill? The law enforcement officer's purple cloud pill. You have purple cloud pill? The three of them were all martial saints. How could they not know about this kind of medicine, which was the most miraculous medicine besides heavy pills? Once Chu Yang said that, they immediately guessed it. Chu Yang smiled and said, it should be that kind of thing. Back then, my teacher once saved a high-level law enforcement officer and was given a purple cloud pill. Then, my teacher broke this pill into pieces and studied it carefully. He actually developed the prescription of the purple cloud pill. But, due to the preciousness of the ingredients, he only managed to find enough medicine to refine 1 pill. After so many years, he's already used up 2 pills. Chu Yang looked at the 3 pairs of eyes that were shining with divine light. He smiled and said, "When I came out this time, my teacher gave me these 4 elixirs." Wn Renjie and the other 2 started to breathe rapidly. The 3 of them looked at Chu Yang and their Adam's apple trembled violently. This, their faces were full of worry. Chu Yang couldn't help but exclaim in his heart, if it were an ordinary person, upon hearing that he had such a rare treasure, he would probably have already snatched it without caring about anything else. But these 3 people didn't do such a thing. It was enough to show that they had their own bottom line. Of course, if they snatched it, Chu Yang would also give it to them. It's just that he would have to add more ingredients. Chu Yang laughed and said, "Since we're so fated, and I feel like old friends at first sight, no matter how miraculous the medicine is, it's after all a dead thing. How can it be compared to human feelings?" Wn Renjie and Cheng Jueying were instantly moved to the extreme. They almost had the urge to cry. This wasn't just a treatment for their injuries, but a good thing that could allow the 3 of them to reach the heavens in 1 step. From low-grade martial saints to supreme martial artists, this was a qualitative leap. For their future actions, this would also greatly increase their chances of success and reduce the probability of failure and death. This was simply equivalent to Chu Yang giving each of them another life. How could they repay such a great kindness? I have a good news to report to everyone. The 4th heaven of the world defying stage has opened a group. The group number is 254369092. This is the 4th full subscription group of the world defying stage. Entering the group requires verification. Brothers and sisters who subscribe to the world defying stage are welcome to join. Feng Ling is waiting for you inside. All of you are my brothers and sisters. I hope to become friends with all of you. Together, we can conquer the world, dance with the wind and clouds, and conquer the world. Chapter 866. It was already early in the morning. Chu Yang sat on the ground tiredly and kept the silver needles. Marshal Yin Yang. Just now, Wn Renjie, Cheng Jueying and Bao Buhuan had taken the purple cloud pill 1 by 1, and all of them had successfully advanced to first-grade supreme martial artists. Wn Renjie and Cheng Jueying's injuries had all recovered, and they were in high spirits. Only when Bao Buhuan took the purple cloud pill did something go wrong. Because his injuries were really too serious, it was equivalent to directly using the strong medicinal power to open up his meridians. And not only did it open up, but it also had to be connected. Although Chu Yang had already considered this aspect before, he had underestimated Wei Wuyen's Wuyen sword aura. This made him use a lot of strength from Niu Erhu, as well as Wn Renjie and Cheng Jueying's help at the same time. It was as if Bao Buhuan had wandered back and forth on the netherworld crossing hundreds of times. Just a little bit more, and he would explode and become fertilizer on the ground. When he finally passed through and completed the advancement, Chu Yang sat down on the ground weakly. His face was pale, and he was sweating all over. His physical strength was seriously overdrawn. For Bao Buhuan's advancement, Chu Yang was almost half a step into the gates of hell. "Oh my God!" Chu Yang groaned. "The 3 of you are really worthy of being called Yin-Yang Bridge, Life and Death Road, Netherworld Crossing. I was just wandering on the Yin-Yang Bridge just now, wandering on the Life and Death Road, going back and forth in the Netherworld Crossing. This nickname seems to make a lot of sense." Wn Renjie laughed. "But little brother, you have single-handedly created a new Yin-Yang Bridge, a new road of life and death, and a new Netherworld Crossing. In this world, besides little brother, who else has such ability?" Cheng Jueying and Bao Buhuan repeatedly agreed. The gratitude of the 3 towards Chu Yang was already deep in their bones. Chu Yang had saved Bao Buhuan's life by chance, and he was warm-hearted. He carried Bao Buhuan in a carriage to recuperate, and even used his supreme medical skills to alleviate their injuries. Furthermore, after knowing the difficulties of the 3 of them, he did the most generous thing in the world. He gave each of them a purple cloud pill. He made 3 supreme martial artists in one go. This was equivalent to completing the leduo of 3 people. Furthermore, Chu Yang had made this decision after careful consideration. Martial yin-yang, because after the three of them broke through, they would still have to go against the big clans and the enforcers. How much risk would Chu Yang have to take because of this help? It was easy to imagine. As someone from the heavenly layer, how could Chu Yang not know how powerful the big clans were? Just now, he had personally said that the three of them were weak and did not have high hopes for them. But, for the sake of their friendship from before, he had resolutely done so. Where could he find such a friend? The three of them were so touched that they didn't know what to say. You want to say thank you? It was as if no matter how much he thanked him, it could not be compared to the great kindness he had shown him. What do you want to give me as a reward? But what can you give me that can compare to 500 years of cultivation? First grade supreme martial artist? The three of them had received such great kindness from him for no reason, but they realized that they really had nothing to repay him with. Little brother, I really don't know what to say. Wan Renjie sighed. Little brother is so warm-hearted. You saved us from the brink of death and saved us when we were in danger. Your great kindness, I'm really, after a long while, he still felt that he couldn't say anything. Chu Yang smiled and said, Elder brother Wan, why do you have to be like this? You and I are children of the martial world. We should be free and easy. I'm surprised that you're acting like a child. Wan Renjie said emotionally, if it's just a small matter, of course we should be free and easy. But such great kindness, how can we be free and easy? How can the three of us repay such a great favor? Chu Yang smiled generously and said, Elder brother Wan, you're wrong. To be honest, I didn't want to get involved in this matter at first. But the three of you did it for your master's last wish and to take revenge for him. Such filial piety is really touching. Moreover, Chu Yang looked at Chu Lira lovingly and said, previously, Elder brother Wan coaxed my sister. You really like her from the bottom of your heart. My sister has been weak and sickly since young. It's rare for her to be so happy. But with Elder brother Wan coaxed my sister to be so happy. Intentionally or unintentionally, Chu Yang had already changed the way he addressed them from 3 seniors to 3 elder brothers, and now to Elder brother Wan and 3 elder brothers. He smiled a little shyly and said, I'm not afraid of being laughed at, but I treat my sister like my own flesh and blood. Just that Elder brother Wan can make my sister so happy, it's already worth it for me to do something for the three of you. The latest chapter of Martial Yin Yang. He paused for a while and said, moreover, Elder brother Wan also gave Le 3 priceless purple crystal jade cores. Wan Renjie's face instantly turned red. He waved his hands repeatedly and said, little brother, please don't mention this again. I'm already so ashamed. Just 3 purple crystals. He simply didn't know what to say. Cheng Duiying said, that's right. Little brother's great kindness, how can we use some purple crystals to measure it? How can we repay little brother? The three of us really can't think of anything even if we break our heads. Bao Buhuan smacked his lips. After pondering for a long time, he said, little brother, big senior brother and second senior brother are right. Chu Yang smiled honestly. He was a little at a loss as to what to do. He said, the 3 elder brothers have praised me so much that I'm blushing. Well, now it's 3 elder brothers again. Wan Renjie sighed for a long time. When he heard Chu Yang's words, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he said, little brother, we hit it off at first sight. If you don't mind our bad reputation, how about the 4 of us become brothers? As soon as he said this, Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan's eyes lit up. Cheng Duiying clapped his hands and said, that's right. Big senior brother is right. Little brother, as long as you don't object, the 3 of us will shamelessly become brothers with you. From then on, we'll share blessings and misfortunes together. If anything happens to little brother, even if the 3 of us are thousands of miles away, we'll definitely rush to your rescue. We'll solve all your difficulties. Chu Yang shook his head repeatedly. No, this can't be done. The 3 of you are all seniors in the martial world, and you're very powerful. And now, you're a supreme martial artist, and you're looking down on the world. How can I, Chu Yang, dare to become brothers with the 3 of you? Isn't this killing me? This can't be done. Cheng Duiying said enthusiastically, why can't this be done? Not to mention supreme martial artist. Even if you're a supreme martial artist, isn't it all thanks to you? Let's become brothers. As long as we're willing, who can stop us? Chu Yang said sincerely, I know what you three big brothers are thinking. You want to help me, but, really, Wn Renjie said angrily, little brother, do you think that the three of us have a bad reputation? Chu Yang was stunned. Big brother Wn, what are you saying? If I, Cheng Duiying threatened, little brother, are you afraid that we have too many enemies in the martial world, and that will implicate you? Chu Yang looked even more embarrassed. Big brother Cheng, you've really wronged me. But before he could finish his words, Bao Buhuan had already interrupted. Big senior brother and second senior brother are right. Little brother, you must be thinking this way. It's really not, really not. Chu Yang shook his head repeatedly. He was so anxious that his face had turned red. Since it's not, then what's the point of talking about it? Wn Renjie said resolutely, this matter is settled. Chu Yang was surprised. This isn't good, is it? What's not good about it? Wn Renjie said domineeringly, among the brothers, I'm the most important. If I say so, then so be it. Duiying, go and prepare some incense and candles. Buhuan, go and find something and prepare to make a blood oath. Little brother, fourth brother, do you have anything else to say? Chu Yang spread out his hands helplessly and smiled bitterly. Big brother has already said so. What else can I say? That's good. That's great. The three of them instantly became excited and laughed. Not long after, the four of them used soil as incense and caught a wild deer. The four of them then made a blood oath. Then, the four of them knelt down on the ground at the same time. Wn Renjie said, heaven above, earth below. The other three said in unison, heaven above, earth below. Wn Renjie, Cheng Duiying, Bao Buhuan and Chu Yang are sworn brothers today. From now on, we'll share blessings and misfortunes together. If you're in trouble, I'll stand in front of you. If you're in trouble, I'll bear it. Cheng Duiying Bao Buhuan Chu Yang. The four of them bowed to the heavens 8 times and stood up. All of them looked very happy. Fourth brother. Wn Renjie called affectionately. Fourth brother. Cheng Duiying called fervently. Fourth brother. Bao Buhuan grabbed Chu Yang's hand at once. Chu Yang's expression was very bashful, and he actually found it hard to open his mouth. After a long while, he finally said with a red face, Big brother. Yes. Wn Renjie answered loudly and patted Chu Yang's shoulder hard. He laughed and looked very happy. Quickly go and greet your second and third brothers. Second brother, third brother. Chu Yang bowed to each of them. Fourth brother, please get up. Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan couldn't help but smile. Wn Renjie said, Fourth brother, you're still young and in your prime. Your future is limitless. So, when we were swearing to be sworn brothers, I deliberately didn't say I don't wish to be born in the same year, same month and same day, but only wish to die in the same year, same month and same day. Haha, the three of us are already old men. If we really said that, little brother would suffer a big loss. Haha. The other two laughed together. Congratulations, big brother. Chu Lua cupped her hands in front of her chest. Big brother, second brother, third brother, fourth brother. Wn Renjie instantly burst out laughing. He grabbed the little loli and pinched her lightly. Then, he laughed and said, Your big brother has become sworn brothers with us, but you haven't. In the future, you'll still call him uncle, okay? Chu Lua said pitifully, then, won't I be 1 generation younger? Ha ha ha. The four of them laughed together. 7th update. Thank you, brothers. We've finally rushed to the first place temporarily. At that moment, more than 30 brothers and sisters took screenshots for me at the same time. I was so excited that I almost smashed the keyboard. With a swoosh, I took off my clothes and ran naked in the bedroom. Nothing to say. You're too powerful. In order to express my gratitude, all the students who voted for me today stepped forward and I kissed them one by one. There's no limit to males and females. Yes, males kiss on the face, females kiss on the mouth. Waha, I'll continue to write the 8th update. No matter how late it is, the 10th update is definitely. Brothers, defend our position, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation votes. Chapter 867. The next morning. Net, big brother, second brother, third brother, Chu Yang said, Le and I are going to the capital, which is different from the three of you. The three of you still have important things to do, so you'd better do it quickly. You don't have to worry about us. WN Renjie said, how can we do that? How can we rest assured if the two of you go on your way like this? No matter what, we have to escort fourth brother and Le to the destination. Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan agreed. Chu Yang smiled and said, if the three of you really want to do so, then Le and I will walk slowly. When we reach the Black Pine Forest, we'll stop. It's a good place with mountains on one side and rivers on the other. The two of us will wait there for the three of you to return triumphantly after you've finished your important matters. Then, we'll set off together. What do you think? WN Renjie, Cheng Duiying and Bao Buhuan looked at each other. They all felt that this was a good plan. Firstly, there was no danger. Secondly, it wouldn't delay their matters. They couldn't help but praise, fourth brother, good plan. Chu Yang laughed and said, however, the three of you have to be careful. The martial world is full of sinister people. You have to be careful. WN Renjie and the other two said solemnly, little brother, you're right. Big brother will definitely be careful. Chu Yang said, also, which side will the three elder brothers be targeting this time? The Yi clan? Or the Xiao clan? WN Renjie said without hesitation, in my original plan, I want the two clans to kill an important person each. This way, they'll fight with their lives on the line. And we'll have more opportunities to take advantage of them. Chu Yang frowned and shook his head. This is not appropriate. Not appropriate? Wan Renjie asked, what's not appropriate? Big brother, think about it. Everyone has a vengeful mentality. For example, if you slap me, I'll definitely kick you. After a slap and a kick, if someone tries to stop the fight, I'll let it go, right? Chu Yang said. Wan Renjie said, that's right. If ordinary people fight, it's really like this. Chu Yang smiled faintly and said, be it supreme martial artists or martial saints, they are all just ordinary people. If the person who was slapped doesn't return the slap, then the person will become angrier and angrier. In the end, it may even lead to a lawsuit. At this point, Wan Renjie started to ponder. Chu Yang said, just like this assassination attempt, if Big Brother had killed one person from each side, the fight wouldn't have started. Because everyone is very balanced. Everyone thinks that it was the other party who did it, and everyone also thinks that it was the secret power of their own family who did it, right? Yes. Wan Renjie's expression turned solemn. He had originally thought that this fourth brother he had just acknowledged was young and might not have any insights. But he did not expect that when he spoke, it was actually clear and logical, meticulous and reasonable. For example, if the second master of the Yi clan dies, of course the Yi clan will be mad with grief and anger. They will take revenge even at the cost of their lives. But if they suddenly hear that the third master of the Xiao clan has also died, then there will be such a feeling, oh, one of you has also died. And the one who died is also an important person. So when they feel balanced mentally, they won't be so anxious to take revenge. Because everyone will feel that they haven't suffered too much. So, if Big Brother wants to take action, you can only choose one family. Chu Yang concluded, only in this way can the two families really fight to the death. Brilliant plan. Wan Renjie started to seriously consider. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Chu Yang's words were really insightful. Big Brother, fourth brother is right, Bao Buhuan said seriously. Yes, that's right. What fourth brother said makes sense. Wan Renjie looked at Chu Yang with some reliance in his eyes. He did not expect that this little brother he had just acknowledged was not only a divine doctor, but also a genius strategist. This time, he had really picked up a treasure by accident. Fourth brother, in your opinion, which side should we take action from? When Wan Renjie asked, there was a hint of seeking advice. This proved that he had already admitted that he was not as good as Chu Yang in terms of the overall situation and conspiracies. Although he himself had not realized this point. I think that the three of you should take action from the Yi clan. Chu Yang took a tree branch and drew a circle on the ground. Look, this is the southeast. And the southeast is the Xiao clan's base camp. In the southeast, it is true that the feud between the Huang clan and the Xiao clan led to the two clans fighting. But if you look carefully, you can see that the Huang clan did not go all out, and neither did the Xiao clan. Both sides only wanted to vent their anger. That's all there is to the Saint Hall, Chu Yang said. Yes, I agree with this point. Wan Renjie frowned and said, but little brother, you're so young. How do you know these things? I'm from the Chu clan of the Flat Mountain Ridge. Chu Yang laughed and said, and the Xiao clan had used the Grand Severing Hand on the only son of the Huang clan. And the Grand Severing Hand of the Huang clan was cured by me. I see. The three of them laughed out loud. Then, they were shocked. So the young divine doctor in the Flat Mountain Ridge is you? You flatter me. Chu Yang squinted his eyes and smiled. But I heard that the divine doctor is very black-hearted. He's known as the black-hearted divine doctor. Bao Buhuan was pinched by Cheng Duing halfway through his words. Chu Yang suddenly laughed. Second brother, you don't have to do this. There must be a price to pay for my treatment. But people will always have feelings. There will also be those who are pleasing to the eye and those who are not. For those who think that they are rich and nouveau riche, if I don't earn their purple crystals, am I supposed to keep it for them? The three of them laughed. Exactly. Chu Yang continued, and after the Huang clan discovered the conspiracy of the Xiao clan, They sent people to massacre the branch of the Xiao clan in the flat mountain ridge. But at this time, the seventh master of the Xiao clan suddenly got seriously injured and became disabled. Well, this is what I heard, he smiled. That's why the Huang clan and the Xiao clan are getting anxious, the three of them said. I see. Although the three of them were plotting to deal with the big clans, they really weren't clear about the ins and outs of this incident, speaking of which, they couldn't be blamed for this. Because even the experts of the Huang clan, Xiao clan, and Yi clan who were fighting each other, absolutely didn't know the inside story of this battle. In the whole world, there was only one person who could really understand this matter, and that was the person standing in front of them now, this kind, honest, pure and innocent fourth brother who was shy and fresh out of the oven, because this guy was the main culprit of the chaos in the entire upper three heavens. Since this is the case, then it should be a matter between the Huang clan and the Xiao clan. Why is the Yi clan also involved? Wan Renjie asked, puzzled. Actually, the three of them had been puzzled about this matter all along the way. The two big clans had been at peace for close to 10,000 years. Why did they suddenly fall out with each other? Chu Yang said, it's like this. When the seventh master of the Xiao clan was injured, the 13th master of the Yi clan also suffered a great loss in the flat mountain ridge. The 5 monarch-level experts that he brought were all killed. Even the 13th master of the Yi clan was on the verge of death. And the 13th master of the Yi clan escaped back. Rumor has it that it was the Xiao clan who did it, so the Yi clan started to take revenge. I see. This matter is really too complicated. Wan Renjie and the other two finally understood. They couldn't help but sigh. They only felt that the twists and turns of this matter could be written into a novel. Just like this, the three big clans actually fought each other. The heavens are really helping me. Chu Yang continued to analyze. According to my speculation, although the people from the Yi clan who came this time are all elites, they are definitely not the top elite. They only came this time to vent their anger. So big brother, your previous analysis is wrong. This battle definitely won't last for a long time. Wan Renjie and the other two nodded heavily at the same time. So you have to start from the Yi clan, because this is the Xiao clan's home ground. Chu Yang said calmly, and you can't just kill one. You have to choose those who are powerful enough and kill a few of them consecutively. After that, you have to leave immediately. After that, no matter what happens, you can't care about it, much less watch it. Just hearing about it will be enough to satisfy you. Brilliant plan. Wan Renjie and the other two exclaimed at the same time. Only now do we realize that Old Fourth is actually an expert in scheming. Chu Yang smiled reservedly and thought, an expert in scheming? How am I just an expert? If you know that everything here is caused by me, even the matter of the big clans of the upper three heavens and the 8 big clans working together to deal with the Li clan is also caused by me. Humph, humph, humph. Yes, let's do it this way. Bao Bu Huan clapped his hands heroically. But I have to remind you, Chu Yang pointed at the weapons of the 3 people and said, you can't use these to attack. These are your signboards. Once they are exposed, the Yi clan and the Xiao clan don't need to fight anymore. The 2 clans will directly join forces to find trouble with you. Of course, Wan Renjie nodded affirmatively and said, how can the 3 of us be so inexperienced? Chu Yang curled his lips secretly and thought, the 3 of you, still say that you have experience. He frowned and said, since you plan to attack, who are you going to pretend to be from the Xiao clan? Pretend to be someone? Cheng Duiying said, do we still need to pretend to be someone? Then how are you going to let the Yi clan know that it's the Xiao clan who did it? Chu Yang was astonished. Don't we need to pretend to be someone? Isn't it the Xiao clan who did it? Cheng Duiying said matter-of-factly, is there anyone else who can do it here? Chu Yang scratched his head and said, but aren't you here? But how does the Yi clan know that it's us who did it? Cheng Duiying rolled his eyes. But the Yi clan also can't be sure that it's the Xiao clan who did it. Chu Yang was speechless. So this is how you go against the big clans? I'm really going to faint. Wan Renjie said calmly, little brother, you mean, you choose a person whose style is similar to yours, imitate his attack, and make the enemy shout out before he dies, you're Xiao? Chu Yang said. Only in this way can you immediately cause a conflict. You can't be sure of anything. You just let the two clans gather together to study what's going on. What results can you get? The big clans have been able to stand strong for so many years. Which one of them is stupid? Chu Yang said resentfully. Alas, if I had such cultivation now, I would have turned the world upside down long ago. You still don't know how to do it. The 8th update has been delivered. I'll continue to work hard. Please vote for me. I just want to say one thing. 4 groups have just been opened today. I didn't expect everyone to be so enthusiastic. Hundreds of people joined the group at once. The 5 managers were too busy. It said that at the busiest time, one manager had to deal with more than 10 brothers and sisters at the same time. Therefore, some brothers were kicked out by mistake, and some brothers couldn't join the group. Here, on behalf of the managers, I would like to express my deep apologies to the brothers and sisters who were kicked out by mistake and couldn't join the group. I'm sorry to let you suffer. For those brothers and sisters who couldn't join the group, you can join the group after 12 o'clock in the morning and before 22 o'clock in the evening. At that time, some managers will have time. If you don't open the group occasionally, please understand and choose another time to join. Feng Ling is inside, waiting for your arrival anytime. Yes, longing for your arrival. The group number is on the page. Proud 4 groups. Everyone can join at any time. Thank you. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.